welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. I cannot see anyone's like chat. So first of all, what we'll do is we'll bring up the chat in front of me and then we'll start every other thing. So I know you can't see my screen right now. You will be able to just hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. It's okay to wait for a little bit unless it's not too much. Okay. Let me pull out my my what live manage. There you go. So I don't know how many of you are here right now, but as far as I can see, nobody's here. So what we'll say is, let's start this backend development series. We will be learning about backend development, everything about backend development. In this particular video, we'll know all the things, and we'll be doing it in TypeScript. We'll be doing it this using the TypeScript what we have learned before, and let's see how much we can learn today and how much can I cover. I don't know how much will I be able to cover, but we'll try to cover a lot of things, and we have a couple of hours right now, so interesting. Let's see. And all of you guys, welcome. Hey Asif, what's up? What's up, Asif? You're here. Welcome to the stream. Okay, let's get started. First of all, what we'll do is we'll place this our chat there. Hey, hello others. Hey Gotham, what's up? All of you guys there. Welcome. Okay. So let me share my screen. I hope so all of you guys could see my screen. Oh, I just shared the wrong. My screen has messed up right now, so we'll have to share the other screen. I'll have to set up my, hold on, what's wrong with this, bro? Why can't I edit this? Why all the things goes wrong while I'm on the stream? I don't know. No. What I want to do is I want to do like the display should be this one and things are good. Yeah. So let's get started. I hope so nothing will go wrong now and you can see everything right now. Yes. Bro, please check the live chat speed once. I can see, I think live chat is good. So you can see the live chat in this side. And is it real time? Check it once. Is it real time? This is the chat. Hey, hi Adarsh, hi everyone. We'll be doing some backend development today. So all of you guys who are excited, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. And we'll be doing something great. All of you guys, I would like to like this stream right now so that this reaches to more people and more people can join in live and they can see the stream. I would like all of you guys like, so we have 4 people, we are even 4 likes. Okay, great. So yes, great. So let's get started. So the first thing what we'll do is we will be learning backend development using TypeScript. Now I would be like, there will be some theory part. So let's get into some theory part. So let's go to Excalibur. We'll remove this. This is from my work and stuff like that. So we'll be doing some. So but before doing any of these things, what I would like to do is this setting up these chats and managing all of these things is more difficult than developing actually. Okay, there you go. Great. So what we'll do is we will be I'll be explaining a little bit over here. Okay, so the first thing which is required is basically backend development, right? So there's like a lot of different approaches to this. Like there's a lot of different ways you can do backend development, right? So what is backend? Like what is a backend, right? Let's first answer this question and then we'll move to actual backend development. Backend is a place which is very simple. It returns data. It serves data to the front end. It's very simple. A backend is nothing more than a thing which serves data to its front end. So there's front end demanding for data. Hey, give me some data. And our backend is solely responsible for, hey, this is the data, take it, go away. That's what a backend does. And you can do it in a lot of different ways. So there's a lot of different protocols like TCP, so which is transmission control protocol. There's HTTP, which is hypertext transfer protocol. There is like these are some of the most famous backend most famous protocols, not backend. So out of this, in this HTTP, right? So if you're using HTTP, this has several things. So you can create data using an HTTP protocol by using certain methodologies. Like, so one of them is called GET. What is GET? GET is like simply give me the data. That's GET, right? So for example, I go to excalibur.com. That's a GET request. That's a GET HTTP request from my browser to Excalibur. Or for example, if you're using Google, that's a GET request from your browser to the Google, right? So that's a GET request. GET request is simply used for getting the data. Second thing which we have is called POST request. Okay, what is a POST request? POST request is when you want to send some data as well, right? When you want to create some data on the server. So that's like this is for getting the data. So you can say getting the data, and this is for creating the data. So this is for creating the data. Great. So we have one for getting the data, one for posting, which is creating the data. Awesome. We have a get request, we have a post request, and then we have a put request, which is used for updating the data. So right, there you go. And then you have a delete request, which is used for deleting the data. Right? So you can do all of these different things using HTTP call. But let me tell you, there are few protocols. I wouldn't say they are protocol, but they are like framework or they're libraries which are implemented even on this HTTP layer. Right? So a lot of libraries have been implemented even on this HTTP layer. For example, GraphQL, where you don't have this get, post, put, delete methodologies. They handle it internally, but you have a different kind of thing. So while you build directly on HTTP server, you can use these things. You can use a get, post, put, and delete. But there is another way. There is another way, and that also we'll be discussing, which is so there's a lot of different libraries or frameworks which are implemented on this HTTP, and you can use those libraries to create. For example, there's something called GraphQL. Right. So first I want to introduce you to what backend is all about, right? And then we'll be starting to development. So there's something called GraphQL. Now this is a query language. So this is also a way. So like you have get, post, delete, all those things. This is also a way to query the data. It runs on HTTP only. It is nothing different. It runs on normal get, post request, but the methodology or the way by which you fetch the data and you handle things in the backend is different when you talk about GraphQL. Adarsh Tiwari, bros, please adjust your what cam a little bit. Right. Oh, there's oh, it automatically moves, bro. Trust me. I don't do this myself. It automatically moves sometimes. Okay. We have it adjusted. So thank you, Adarsh, for that. Okay. So let's continue. Let's continue our discussion. So GraphQL is a layer. So this is also one of the ways you can do. There's another way called TRPC. Okay. So there's I told you, right, a lot of abstraction on this HTTP has also been built. TRPC is also a way to extract the data. So TRPC is also one of the ways. I think Ashpreet Singh is, hello bhaiya, I have a project in which I have to implement streaming with chunks just like YouTube. Can you guide me on how to do that? Of course I will. Of course I will. We'll do that. So streaming like chunks, you can do it using sockets. You can do it using, by the way, what kind of data are you streaming? Is it like raw data? Is it like video data? Is it like audio data? What is that? So if you will tell me that, then I can guide you much more. This will be much more helpful. Okay. So this TRPC is also an abstraction on this HTTP, right? Like these are, I gave you two examples. There's like 10 different examples of how like a different like all the different abstractions built on the top of HTTP. But what we will be learning is another abstraction is called like Express, not Express body parser, but actually Express. Okay. So this is also one of the abstraction, you can say, built on this HTTP, which makes our life easier. So that's what we're going to learn in this particular video and audio data, bro. If it is video and audio data, I would say, what can you use? If it's, you can use socket, like a normal socket connection, right? You can send the buffer data and you can do it, or you can even, yeah. So sockets support piping. I don't want to go in that direction because a lot of you guys are here for backend, but sockets do support piping a stream. You can try that, and then you can try to stream a video and audio data. Okay, so this is one of the abstractions built on the HTTP, which is great. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this guy, which is Express, to create our backend, which is one of the abstraction built on top of pure HTTP protocol, which is hypertext transfer protocol. So let's get started. So first of all, if you haven't watched my TypeScript stream, highly recommended, go and watch that, because if you don't know TypeScript, you wouldn't understand like a lot of things in this particular video. So watching this video doesn't make sense in that case. Okay, we'll go to projects where we keep all our projects, and I think then we'll create a folder and we'll call it placement stream, right? Placement stream. And then we'll go to placement stream, and then we'll create a folder called backend. So I can use something called bun. Now you guys must be thinking, what is bun? Bun is basically a way to create TypeScript projects very easily, and we'll be using bun in this particular video. So we'll say bun init, right? So I've explained you the long way of creating TypeScript project where you actually understand what is going on. Bun is also a way to create TypeScript project. So here we'll be using bun. So we'll say bun init and dot, which will or no dot. Giving a dot will start it in this folder. So the package name what we're going to give is let's say backend. So you can give it anything. What I have used is bun init, which is bun initialize. Okay, so we have used backend, and the I'm happy with entry point, which is index.ts. Pretty happy with that. And next we have bun run index.ts. Okay, so bun can directly run TypeScript projects, so TypeScript files, by the way. So what is there in this? We'll be definitely looking at it right now. So we have just console.log hello via bun, and that's what we have logged when we try to run it. But this doesn't run it in like this doesn't run it like nodemon, like it doesn't watch your file for changes and restart the server. So for that we'll have to do a little bit of work. What we need to do is we have to go and add a script. Now what is scripts? I think I have already. What are we building? We are building a backend, and we're going to learn. We are not building anything specific. Sit and relax, if that is your name. What we are trying to learn is we are trying to learn a lot of different things used in the backend, and we are trying to, yeah, it is learning stream, not creating stream. It is learning stream. I'll be explaining a lot of different concepts, a lot of different ways by which you can build backend systems. So we'll be creating a dev script which is used for development, and then what we'll do is we will be saying bun and then index.ts and then like double dash and then watch. This will do what is, this will run bun index.ts, but it will run it on watch mode. So whenever our file changes, it just reruns your server. That's kind of great. I just I forget my water bottle to like I just forget my water to fill my water bottle. I might go for it in a little while, but that's kind of okay. So we have a normal project, but again, as I have explained, we are using an abstraction over HTTP, which is Express package, right? So what we'll do is we'll install Express package, right? So we'll say not yarn. I just habituated of using yarn, right? So we'll say bun add Express, right? Which will add Express for us. Next is, so let's quickly add Express. Very simple. We have added Express, and as we are using TypeScript, we'll have to also add the type definition of Express. So we'll have to say bun add, so at the rate type slash Express, which will add a type definition for Express. Great. So how do you initialize the project Express project? I think a lot of you might a lot of you might already be knowing this, but we'll go something like Express, and then you get an app from Express like this, and then wait, hold on, what am I doing, bro? What am I doing? I shouldn't have done that. Okay, whatever. So it will say import again. We'll say import Express, not like that. So we'll say Express like that, and then we'll say Express, and then we'll say app, and then there's the app, and then we'll say we can say app.listen. Now what this does is this simply creates an Express server, and we can listen it on any port. Now here's the first trick, right? As we are using bun, this lets us listen to whatever .env file which we create, like .env, and if we specify a port over here, so you should always specify a port in the .env file, because see, sometimes your DevOps engineer, if you are working in a company, let's say, right, a DevOps, if you guys don't know, a DevOps engineer is an engineer who is responsible for who is responsible for launching your site or like releasing your site on production, and he's also responsible for managing the overall infrastructure. So he will be placing your site in AWS. He will be giving you all those Docker containers. He will be giving you all those GitHub pipelines and all those things to run your project on a production environment. That is a DevOps engineer. So your DevOps engineer might use different ports for different purposes. So you should always put your port in a .env file. That's a good habit. I would ask all of you guys to follow. Okay. Then do we need anything else? I don't think so. This is one of the things. And then one other good habit could be like you can like make sure there is certain environment variables present. So you can even write a check over here, which I'll not be writing right now, but it's generally recommended. All of you guys who are watching, write a check, right? Okay. So what we'll say is we'll say const port is equal to process.env.port. and that's how you access a port, right? So you just could do process.env.port, and then what you do is you just specify either like is if this port is present, you can write a check, like if this is not present, this should throw some error or something. But like if this is not present, you can write or something. I'll not do that right now. I'll be writing, okay, so if this port is not there, if there's no port, then simply throw an error called port is not defined in the env, right, which is in the environment, right? And then what you can do is if this is defined, we can go to the port and we can start the server. And then the first is port and the second parameter is a callback function. What this callback function does is very simple. It helps you to do something after your server started. And in my case, what I'll do is I'll say server started on whatever port which we are running. Great. So you have started the port. One more thing I'll do is I'll just do like this, and then I'll do parse end, and then as string, whatever. I don't know why the 10 is there, which that shouldn't be required. Okay, there you go. So we have a port, and we are checking that it is available to us, and then we are listening on the server. Great. The next thing what we'll learn is actually let's start the server. Let's say bun dev, and this will start our server at port 8080, right? Hey bro, how to set the TSC compiler to compile every time when we save the file in the Express server? It's very easy, bro. If you have to compile your file whenever like if you're using TSC, which is TypeScript compiler, what you can do is you can use something called watch. So TSC has watch command, I think -w, that's what it is, -w, and then it will compile every time you save. If you're using nodemon, you don't need, hey what name, what's up, how are you? If you're using nodemon, you don't need to write anything. Just install ts node and write nodemon index.ts. It will directly run TypeScript files, a nodemon. So that's how it works. Great. So the next thing what we'll do is we have the app, we have the port, we have all these beautiful things, and we have already started our server as well. So that means we can access our server, and we can access our server, like let's say our server is running on port 8080. You can see we are getting cannot get slash. That means there is, our server is not handling anything which is port 8080. Very simple. It is very, very simple, bro. It's like there is nothing at port, like at slash, which is at the home location. We are learning a lot of things, guys. So all of you guys, I would like you to please like the stream if you can, because we'll be learning file upload, we'll be learning form validation, we'll be learning a lot of different things in this particular video. So please like the stream if you could. Okay, so then we have app, we have port, we have app.listen. Great. What is the next thing? How to define this? How to define this this stuff, right? So you do app.get, like you, as I've explained to you, there's four types: get, post, delete, and put. So you can use all of those things, and I will write slash and then request response, right? You get three things. You get a request, you get a response, and you get a next, right? So you get all these three things from this. Great. You get a request, you get a response, and you get a next. What is next? I'll be explaining in a while, but let's get rid of next right now. So I'll be explaining what next is in a while, but right now I'll just send hello world. Right? So this is a very basic Express server, and I know all of you guys who already know basics, this will be like, oh, this is so basic. Don't worry, we'll be climbing up to the complex level very, very soon. Okay. So we have this, and any request coming to the slash part, we'll be sending this hello world. Great. So if I come to this right now, I think my server didn't restart for some reason. Okay. So now if I go over here, it's hello world, right? Great. I think this doesn't work like this. Hold on. Let me correct this. I think hyphen watch doesn't work. So you have to say /w, I guess. Not sure. Yeah. Let's search for bun watch mode. Right? So this will give us how to do watch mode. Detail encoder, need clarity on how routes in Next.js is different from Express and which one to prefer. Okay, sure. It's this, bro. It's this. And then what you do is you place this before your file name. Bro, see, as compared to Next.js, right? As compared to Next.js, Express router is definitely better, because like it's not better. It is like uh, it has its own use cases. So Next.js is a full stack framework, right? So there you handle your front end and your back end kind of like all together, right? So all together. But Express.js gives you, it is only backend, so it's simpler. That's one advantage of using something like Express.js. It's simpler. The second advantage is, I'll be telling you some disadvantages as well. The second advantage is Next.js, Next.js, if you know, it runs on the concept of serverless, right? So if you are using Next.js, you can deploy a Next.js application on a serverless machine, right? It gives you server functions, which is server actions, I think, something like that. So you cannot maintain the instance of a particular. All of you guys who are not understanding this is completely okay. I'll be understanding this, but this is just for detailed coder basically. So all the variables which you create the instance of, uh, has to be recreated if the server went down. So you'll have to think about this. Have you tried to create Mongoose instance? Have you tried to create Postgres instance in Next.js? It's little difficult, right? Because every time your Next.js server kind of like it is in the sleeping mode, and then you do the request, it has to recreate all those variables. So that's kind of a little bit difficult, but the benefit which it comes with is great, which is, Next.js gives you all the ability to, like, of course, serverless itself is a very big advantage, right? Having serverless, the cost is very less, and then you have performance is very high and all those things. But I think this is simpler. That's the biggest advantage of using a separate backend. I think that's the case with 95% of our organizations right now. 95% of the organization have a separate backend for the system. Next.js big disadvantage, you can't able to get backend job role. That's an amazing joke. Yeah. Okay. Next thing, we have this as a very simple. We have this as a very simple route. So and we have this running. I think now our auto restart works. We'll have to run it again. Great. So we have it on watch mode. Great. So the next thing what we'll do is we'll learn what is middlewares, right? So the next thing, the next concept which is very important in Express.js is called middlewares, right? And as the name suggests, middle, it runs on the middle of your request coming and your next route. Whatever route it is hitting, it runs in between of that. For example, if I just say app.use, and if I just say request, response, and next, those are the three variables you use to define a middleware. And if I just say next over here, and if I log something over here, for example, middleware is running, right? What is watch mode? Yudhva Krishna is asking what is watch mode. So this watch mode which I was doing right now, this enables me, like, whenever I save my file, right? I cannot pronounce your name, sorry, Krishna. Uh, this restarts my server. So this will restart my server whenever I make change. For example, if I do this and if I save, you can see my server restarted. So there's like the new code is running now. Okay. So for example, if I do this, this will run whenever I want to send request at any route. This will run for sure. That's called a middleware. Okay. So for example, if I just do refresh over here, you can see middleware is running. I have refreshed it twice, and it went to first the middleware and then it went over here. So if you have to count how many requests was made to your server, you can directly you can use something like middleware like this, like app.use, right? Okay, great. So but this was pretty clear, I guess. Next thing is, what if, why not using nodemon? Because we are using bun, bro. Bun is way faster and you don't need nodemon for this, right? Why to use an additional tool when you cannot use it? Like, what, when the work is being done without it? I mean, that's better, right? Okay, so we have this. The next thing what we'll be learning is what is an error handler and how do you create this, and what is an 404 route handler. So we'll be creating two things: 404 route handler, right, and an error handler, right? So we'll be learning both of these things, right? So let's learn first of all, which is a 404 route handler. So for example, right now, let's see the problem, right? So if we just go to any route is like this location, right, which doesn't exist on our server, because it gives us this weird thing, cannot get this. I mean, what do you mean by this? Like, this doesn't make sense, right? What cannot get? It should show that this route is not available, right? This route is not available. This should show this should say this, right? How to do that? So you define all your routes over here in the top. Of course, you don't define it here. You can make it in separate files, which we'll be learning in a while. But you define. But if it doesn't match to any of these routes, what you can say is you can say app.all, like post, request, get, whatever. In all of them, I'll just turn off my auto completion because that ruins the overall experience of learning. Okay. So for any route right now, what we want to do is we want to take our request, we want to take our response, and we want to take our next, right? And then what we want to do is we want to say that I want to send a response dot status. Now what is status we'll be discussing. Aspreet is asking some question. Bhaiya, is your thing I am going to learn in 2024? You mentioned about ML Rust design pattern. from where are you learning? How much have you learned? Bro, I have learned a lot of things in ML basically. So I was able to reconstruct an like a, a deep neural net in JavaScript. There will be a video very soon. So Asprit, what where am I learning this from? There's one thing called ML handbook. So all of you guys who want to learn machine learning, see, I have already visited this link. Amazing thing. So this will guide you on what to learn. This is very good like stuff for of what like what to learn, right? So this is a very good resource. I think on my Discord channel, I am constantly sharing all those things which I'm using. So this is a very good resource to learn stuff like linear regression. You can see what all things you have to learn. Linear regression, decision tree, k nearest neighbor, all these things like neural networks, clustering. There is like a very decent amount of thing. Now my interest, like what is my interest in neural net? So first of all, I have already showed you the book which I'm reading, and the next thing what I'm reading is, I think Andre Karpathy's there was some Andre Karpathy's streams. So I think there was some PDF, I don't remember exactly, but that was one of them. And second, I have a folder in my computer. I have it in my learn folder. So if I just go to books, I'm using this. So this is very helpful. So I'm actually right now trying this using neural nets to recognize handwritten digits. This is also a very interesting website which I saved it as a as a PDF. Okay, so all these I'm using. I can share this with you if you want on my Discord channel. Okay, so let's go ahead. So we have this, right? And now the status is basically like you want to tell your client, your server, that okay, something went wrong, all went okay, all these things have different signals, right? You define this. So if everything is okay, that means that is a 200 status. If there was something error, right, if there was some error during processing, that's a 500. Like that means like there was some internal server error. If we you couldn't find something on the server, that's a cannot find something, that's a 404 error. You might have heard a lot of different jokes about 404 error. That's a very famous. If there is remember, all the mistakes of the client side, all the users mistake is 400 errors. And what you I would recommend is go and read status http status codes, http status code MDN. So here what you can do is you can go over here and this mention all the status code, all the I think important ones. So there's like this: 200 is okay, 201 is created, 202 is accepted, 203 is non-authorized, 204 is no content, and you can read all these status codes. So right now in the current scenario, we have this which is like none of the routes match. So that's a 404 error, that we cannot find the route, right? So in this particular case, I'll be using 404 as route status. And then we can use function chaining, and there's something called JSON. And this JSON could help you to return a JavaScript object as a response. So I could write any JSON over here. For example, I'll be writing the route which you are searching for, SEARCHING, for does not exist, right? So this will give a 404 404 status code, which is it cannot find that, with with a message called the route which you are searching for does not exist. So now if I go over here and if I refresh, I would get this no matter where I go. If it does not exist, I will get this, and if it does exist, it will resolve as normal. So for example, this resolves as normal, right? Great. So this is quite amazing, and you can send a lot of different things as a response. You can send a file as a response. You can do a lot of different things, trust me. Okay, so we have learned how to make a 404 route handler. So this is a 404 route handler, right? Right. Next thing what we'll be learning is we'll be learning how to make an error handler. So we'll call it error handler, and the type of this is will be a error request handler. So Express provides us a type for this. So error handler is error request type handler, error request handler, and the value of this is basically this. So what we'll do is we'll have we have an error, request, response, and next. Always remember, any error handler has 4 parameters. First is error, second is request, third is response, and fourth is next. So if you have 4 parameters in a route, that means that particular thing is an error handler. Hey bro, I already know MERN stack. I have already made 2 full stack application with it. What to do next? What to do next? TypeScript or Next.js? Bro, learn TypeScript first, then do Next.js. Next.js doesn't make sense if you don't know TypeScript. Next.js is beautiful with TypeScript. That's what I'll say. Learn TypeScript, definitely. Yeah, you're correct. Learn TypeScript and Next.js. That's a good suggestion. So error handler, and then what we can do is if there is an error, you can log the error. You cannot log the error. It's up to you. And then I have already explained the status. So we'll say rest.status 500, which is internal server error dot send, right? And I'll say message there was some whatever, like some internal server error, right? So there was some internal server error, and what you can do is you can send the error as a response to the client if it is in development, otherwise not. It's completely up to you. Whatever you wish, you can do that. Great. So now how to use this error handler? It's very simple. Use it as a middleware. So you can say app.use error handler. There you go. So that's kind of like that. That is your error handler. Okay. By the way, man, Pern, Postgres. Well, that's great, bro. Postgres SQL is great. We're gonna even learn, like that's what our target will be in this particular video. We're gonna learn Postgres SQL rather than, so we're gonna learn Prisma. If you don't, if all of you guys who are not, like, when we'll be learning about the database stuff in this particular backend development series, we'll be learning Postgres for the database. You can try. I think that's what it is used in the industry a lot, especially in India. Postgres is used a lot in the industry, right? Okay, so we have app.use, and then whenever, like, let's say if we throw an error over here, right? Throw uh, throw throw new error, and let's say this is some error, right? This is some error, right? So we have some error, and if I save this, right, it is not formatting, because I think format on save is off. Format on save, we'll turn it on, and then we'll save it. Great. Oh, we just messed things up. Okay. So now if I just go over here, and if I try to go in the home route, that error will be throwing, right? And then you can see there was some internal server error, right? It is giving us the message that there was some error, because what we have done is we have thrown an error at this particular route. If this makes sense, that's great. We'll be moving ahead. And now what we have learned, let's count what we have learned. We have learned how to create a 404 route. We have learned how to create a error handler. These two things now you know. Let's go ahead. Now you must be having questions. Jay, this is okay, but am I going to have all my routes over here? No, you are going to not have it. So we'll be creating a different folder now for this. We'll be calling it routes, right? And then inside the route, we'll be having something called index.ts, which will be like all the routes will be inside this particular repository. Now the first thing what we'll be creating is we'll be creating a user.ts file, or like let's create an example.ts file first, and then we'll be creating a user.ts file once we have enough experience. So first of all, let's create some router. So let's call it example router, right? uh, and then you will say router over here, which comes from express. So now what is this router? Router is very simple. Router is like a branch of your entire routing tree. Of course I'll be explaining how this works. So first let me do export default example router. And very, like, the best part is you can write all the routes like get, post, delete, put, all those things right from this example router. Let's learn how you can do that. So example router, if I say dot get, like something like test, right? And if I request response, and if I say response dot json, like message this is working. Now all you create all the different kinds of route in this route folder. For example, you create user route, which is useful for creating the user stuff. You can create a post route, which could be responsible for creating all the posts of the user. You could create other different kinds of route you can create, right? So, and in the index file, what you do is you create a route out of all these routes. So you have a final route, which is a route out of all these different routes, right? So what do you do is you import all your routes. So you say const, let's say for example, this, let's say for example, this handles all the authentication related things like sign up, all those things, right? So let's say this is the file which handles that, right? So I'll just modify this to be auth router, right? For example, so let's say this is my auth router and I want to have it over here, right? So this will be responsible for creating the user. What I can do is I can say, okay, this is my auth router, and that, sorry, import auth router from like auth, right? And then what you can do is you can create a router like normal what we have created. So like you can say this is base router or something like that. So like router, and then you can export this as we have done before. So we'll do this. And now let's learn, like, this is very important. All of you guys focus right now, focus, right? So if we say base router dot use, right, And if I say slash auth, all the requests which will come to slash auth location, all the requests which will come to slash auth location, we can send it to auth router. So it's like all the requests which starts with slash auth, the auth router will be responsible for handling it, if that makes sense, right? So if slash auth, and then after that, if there is a request called slash auth slash test, this is the router which will be handled with, right? So great. So we have slash auth, and then we have an auth router, and we have all those things. We'll be very soon we'll be going to very advanced stuff. So all of you guys who are watching, and if you know this, just be with me for some time, okay? So we have auth router, we have auth whatever this thing is. Great. Now how to use this stuff? How to use the base router which you have created? Very simple. What you have to do is you have to go to your main file, which is main index.ts. You can import your base router, right? And then what you can do is you can say, generally I'll tell you generally how we use it. We say slash API. So all the backend request begins with slash API, and then we say base router. So it's like anything which comes to slash API goes to the base router, and then after slash API, if there's an auth, it goes to auth router. That's how it is. Very simple. All of you guys, if you're understanding and if you're with me on this, incredible. Just say yes, I'm with you in the comment section. That will be great. Okay. So now you know how to handle a API, like whatever, like slash API, and then go to base router, and then yeah, so you do slash auth, and that's great. So now I think my server restarted. I think there's no error. I hope so. I'm not pretty sure. It is, yeah, there's no error. And now if I go to slash API slash, what was that, auth slash test, probably this will return this is working, right? So this is what we have defined over here. Great. Okay, great stuff. Now we'll be talking about CORS. Now the full form of CORS is cross origin resource sharing. Listen to me very carefully. Interviewers ask this question a hell lot of times, so all of you guys who are listening, pay very good attention to this. Yes, right? So what happens is, let's go to Excalibur right now. So let's say, for example, this is your server, right? So let me actually come out of this right now. Okay. So let's say this is your server, right? So this is your server, right? This has a origin. What do I mean by origin, right? Origin, by origin, very simply, you can understand this as a URL, right? This is running on, let's say, www dot whatever, like example.com, right? Example.com, right? So okay, that's great, right? It is running on example.com. But so that means this is the origin of this particular server. यही पूछने वाला था. Okay, that's great. So that means this example.com is the origin of this server. That's great. Okay. So if something is in the same origin, for example, something is hosted in the same www.example.com, that can connect with this server, no issues whatsoever. Anybody could connect with this server if it has the same origin. But the problem is if there is a cross origin, which is if the origin is different than the origin of the server. For example, if you want to connect to www.example.com on which your server is running with something called www.test.com, right, which is a different domain, right, then your server by default wouldn't allow this. It will say this is a CORS error. Why this is a CORS error? There you are trying to access this from a different domain than what the server is running on. So that's a problem. You can't do that, right? So how to solve this? You can tell your server that, hey, listen, you don't need to you don't need to throw errors at everyone. This is my domain. So my front end domain is www.test.com, right? And then all the requests which comes from test.com, do not deny it. That's a legit request, right? So you can tell this, or you can tell allow to everyone. I don't care. Allow request from anyone. You can tell whatever you serve. And how to define this, that where the request could come to your server, that's what we're going to learn next. So that happens with a middleware called CORS middleware. So what we'll do is we'll install it. So first let's stop it. We'll say bun add CORS, and similarly we'll be adding the type definition for this as well. So we'll say @type/CORS. Oh, sorry, I did something wrong, I guess. So we'll say bun add -d, which is as a development. So we'll say CORS. Okay. So we have installed the type definition and the CORS middleware. Great. So next thing what we can do is we can import CORS. So let's import CORS. Very simple. Import CORS from CORS, not like this. I mean from CORS. Great. And then if you have to use any middleware, just after defining your app, what you can do is I'll define all my middlewares over here, right? So I have defined you, like I have told you what middlewares are, right? So there are a lot of built-in middleware used for specific purposes. We'll be discussing all of them right now. So not all of them, but all of the useful ones right now. So what will this cause, right? So if you don't pass anything to your cause, that means what you are telling to your server is accept connections from anywhere, right? Accepts connection from anywhere, anywhere in the world. Anyone could accept the connection, let's say, right? So that's how you do it. But let's say you only want your front end to be able to connect to this particular server. What you can do is you can do origin, and then you can define the name of your server, and this accept both a string and an array of string, right? So let's say you have several front ends, you have an admin panel, you have a front end, and you have three different stuff. You can define it in an array, and but if you only have one stuff, you can define it in a simple like this. And also if you place a star over here, that means you want to allow everyone. So that if there is a star here, that means you want to allow everyone. If there is some URL, it will only allow request from that particular origin, that particular host, that particular domain, right? Okay. So now this is done. So that means we have put in star. That means we are allowing request from everyone. So all of you guys could request to my server. Super great. So we have the course thing done. So let's move ahead. Let's move one step ahead. So now our application, now you know what course is and how does that. Let's learn one more thing. So if I go to the request, for example, if I go to localhost port 3000, right? Oh no, our server is running on port 8080, I guess. So if I go over here, what is the port? Oh, my server is not running at all. That's kind of funny. Okay. So we have this, for example, the route which you're searching for does not exist. That's kind of okay. But I want to show you something. Okay. So if I refresh and go to the network tab, see over here, right? So if I refresh this, right? Oh, I don't want to do this like this way. I think I cannot show you something like this. But if I, how should I do this? If I, for example, for testing APIs, I use something called hopscotch, right? Hopscotch is like Postman, which is used for testing APIs. Hold on, right? What I'll do is, yeah, that's kind of okay. So this is hopscotch, which is used for testing APIs. What I'll do is I'll just show. If I just go over here, put that URL over here and hit send, we get a 404. And if we go to raw and headers, right? If I go to headers, right, you will see something. It says X powered by, listen to this very carefully. I don't know you can see this or not. It says X powered by Express. So what you're telling to your front end is that this request is coming from something called Express.js. And now Express.js is of course not perfect. It would have some bugs, errors, and your all the bad people, all the hackers watching your server could attack your server with Express specific attacks, right? So now to prevent your server and to not show someone that you're using Express or something else, what you can use is you can use a middleware called Helmet, right? So what we'll do is we'll again close the server and we'll say, yeah, we'll say bun add Helmet. This kind of like prevents someone in the front end to like basically see what you're using. That's an example, and it hides all the security related headers which could be like bad for your security. So and then again I'll add the type definition for Helmet. So there you go. We have an type definition for Helmet. We'll be going to the Postgres and all those other things. So all of you guys who are watching, just hold on, be there. Okay, there you go. We have an origin. We have Helmet. And how can you use Helmet? Same way what I've explained before. I'll just import Helmet from its package, uh, Helmet, right? So there you go. We can call it Helmet, and then what you can do is you can simply go over here and you can say, even before course, let's say you can say app.use Helmet, and there you go. So this will enable you to. So now I would like to show you the difference, right? Now if I run my server again, you won't see Express.js, hopefully, right? So if I go over here right now, if I send the request again, you don't see this. You don't see I'm using Express or something. There's nothing. See, there's absolutely no, you don't have any idea about what I'm running. It is not like what we were having before. So there's no Express.js mentioned over here. And also there's a lot of other security related like uh, like stuff. Great. So now we are using Helmet. Okay. So this is just two of the middlewares. There's like 1,000 different middlewares available. There's a middleware for rate limiting, that so that someone could send a specific amount of request in a specific amount of time. There's middleware for uploading files, there's middleware for everything, like a lot of different things. Okay, so you can search like middleware for whatever your need is for Express, and you'll find it. Okay, so now we know these two things. I would tell you about one more middleware, which is called Morgan. Okay, very interesting middleware. So I'll just say bun add Morgan. What does Morgan do? Morgan simply logs all the request which is going to a server. I'll just show you in a while how does it work. So I've added bun. I'll add type definition of Morgan as well. So I'll say hash d slash type slash Morgan, and there you go. You have Morgan. And then are we also going to cover models and controllers? Of course we would. We would do that. D10 coder. Of course we'll do that. Okay. So over here, after this core stuff, what we're gonna do is app.use and app.use, and then what you can do is we can say what we're gonna have is Morgan, and then Morgan accepts like these different types of logs you can do. I'll do common. You could have a short, you could have a long, you could have a tiny, you could have like different kinds of logs. So for example, what I'm going to use is common. So if I run my server again, and if I send some request, for example this request, you can see all the requests are getting logged in the bottom, and it with the time and everything, right? So there's like it is getting logged, which is great. Okay, so next thing what we'll do is we have now we know how to create error handlers, 404 route, how to log all the requests, how to protect your API with Helmet. We know how to handle CORS policies. Great. So now you are what I'll say, you are above basic developer in the backend stuff of Node.js, right? So now let's take things to a lot more complexity. So what should we cover next? That's what I'm thinking. I want to go like in a moderate pace. I don't want to increase the pace like directly so that some people are like, what the hell is going on? Okay, right? Okay. So let's see, right? Let's see. For example, in the auth route, right? You can even create middlewares in between this. So for example, if I just created this middleware, like const middleware, and I have explained you before, I think you can say middle uh, template middleware. That's not something which I would learn. So you could have a request which is of type request, right? Request, yeah. You could have a response which is of type response, right? Yeah, and you could have a next function, so which could be of type next function. Great. So this is now a middleware, right? You can use this middleware for a lot of different stuff. You can use this middleware for basically I think Om Bharati, what theme are you using in your VS Code? I am using what? I am using Dark Magic Tokyo. That's what the theme which I'm using in my VS Code. Okay, so we have a middleware, right? So this will you can run something before something reaches to this. So what I'll do is I'll just pass this over here, right? And now any request, before any request comes to this, it will run this. And you must be thinking, okay, but why the hell am I writing a middleware? I'll write it over here. The biggest benefit, or the biggest, like one of the use case of using middleware, is something like authentication. Let's say you want to check something before the route goes over here. So you want to check the headers, you want to check the params and all those different things before something reaches over here. You can do it over here, and I'll just log this. So this is running in the middleware, right? Great. And then I'll call it next function. Next function is very simple. When you call next, it goes to the next whatever route is being handled by whatever next thing is there. So we have a AT, right? And if we just go to that test, which is /API/auth/test, I guess, and you can see I'm getting a 400 response in the body, whatever. And then you can see this is running in the middleware. So before accessing the test, this went to the middleware. That's great. Let's learn few more things. Let's learn a little bit about this request and response. What do we have there? And we'll be learning few advanced stuff as well. But let's learn. First of all, let's say, for example, you could have even dynamic routes. For example, we have test. You could have something dynamic. For example, what you could do is you can have like app router, auth router, like auth router dot get. Let's say you want to get the user details. I'll say user details, and what do you want to have? What do you want to have is, after user details, you want to have the user ID, whatever user ID is there. And as you know, user ID could be anything, right? After user details, user ID could be 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, whatever. It could be absolutely anything. So that means, so like anything which you write with this like ratio sign and then whatever you give name, so this becomes dynamic, right? Dynamic, that means I'll explain you what is dynamic. First let me try to like do something like response dot like response dot, oh, sorry, oh, we forget to request and response, and then what we can say is response dot json, and then this message, this is working, right? So if I go to this particular location, I'll just show you. I don't know, can you guys see this hopscotch? It's very small for you, or I don't know, is it okay if I use this, or like should I change this? Just let me know. Okay, so we have test, right? In the auth, what I would go is I would go to user details, and no matter what I write, let's do this on browser right now. So no matter what I write over here, it will trigger this particular part. So because this part is dynamic, this is user ID. So whatever I write, no matter what I write, this would be working, right? Now the question is how to access this, whatever dynamic part you have written. So it's pretty non-trivial actually. So it's very trivial actually. It's not complex. That's called params. So you could have like let's say user ID. So you could have like request dot params dot user ID. There you go. Very simple. So you could directly fetch the user ID from this particular user ID. So that there you have the user ID. And for example, just for testing, let's send this back to the user. So now whatever you pass over here, this will be returned back to you. See? So we have user ID. So whatever you can access the user ID using request.params. Very, very simple stuff. Okay, great. And I think there was some guy who was asking me how to do this. There's a lot of advanced things. You can do like response.pipe. Very interesting function. You can pipe a stream with this response. Very advanced backend. I don't know will we even reaching that stage today or not, but we might do it some advanced backend someday, and then we might do that response.py. But you can send a response as a JSON. You can even send response as a file. So I think there's like this send file extension which takes the path of the file which you want to send. You can send a string. You can send like there's a normal send function. You can send like whatever you want, like this body. You can send even an HTML over here. So you can say HTML, for example. I can directly say h1 something is good, whatever, and I can say this, and this would work as an HTML. So if I go over here and if I say, you can see something is good as renders as an HTML. You can send absolutely anything with response.send, right? Great. So now let's continue. So we know how to send string. We know how to send JSON. JSON is like simply response.json. We know how to send files. Great. What should we cover next? Hold on, let's get rid of this route. Okay. Let's cover a very interesting use case we'll be covering right now. So we'll be covering how to send data from the front end to the back end, right? So for example, let's say I only remember you can send the data from client to server in a post or a put request, right? So you cannot send it using a get request. So if you want to send it something in the body, then I would say consider using something like post request or put request. So I'll just do auth router dot post, right? And then slash, for example, I would say like create user, right? For example. So what I can tell is I can I will have request and response, and then there's something called body in this. There's like request dot body, and this body has everything which we can send a lot of JSON from the front end, and that is contained in this body. But there's one little issue. We'll be learning about this issue right now, but let's see what is the issue, right? So if I log body, say response, and then I say test, and I'll say this is working, something like that, right? And if I go to slash create user, right, for example, if I go to slash create user, what do I get? I get the route you are searching for does not exist because I have done some kind of mistake. I don't know why is it. Oh, because this is a post request. By default your browser does a get request, so now we'll have to use something like hopscotch. I cannot zoom it, that's very weird. Can I do like some setting stuff? Can I zoom it from here? I guess I would be able to. Can I remove the dark mode? Is that possible? Oh, this is the light mode, kind of good. Can I increase the font size? I don't know. I think I cannot. Whatever. So let's go to the rest section, and then let's try to use this particular API which we have created, which is create user. So we'll go to where will we go to? We'll go to hopscotch. and then we'll write what should be one's approach while learning new technology stuff, or how how you learn new things. Okay, how I learn new things. I just think of something like which I want to create using, like for example, right now I want to learn neural nets, like neural network. That's what I'm learning right now. So what I'll think is I'll think of the most basic solution, like most basic problem that could be solved using neural net. For example, uh, right now there's something called MNIST, right? This is a data set. So MNIST is a data set of handwritten digits, right? So now I take a challenge that can I can I recognize the digits? Like, can I solve this issue? Now, what is the first step of solving this? First step is learning something like neural net, like learning something like, and then learning neural net. Before learning neural net, what do you need to learn? You need to learn perceptron. So I learned perceptron, and before learning perceptron, what do you need to learn? You need to learn some basic math, right? So you need to learn basic math. So that's what I do. I think dark mode is fine. Okay, that's good. Yadhu Krishna. Sure, we'll be moving to the dark mode again. So I just recognize a problem which I have to solve using that particular technology, and I just start googling. That's simple, as simple as that. Okay, great. So let's go to dark mode. I think a lot of you guys having. By the way, I am just asking, can you guys see my screen? Like, is it very small right now? I'll just switch to something else if this is very small. Like, can you guys see this? This request response, say yes or no if you can see this. uh, can I zoom in? I cannot zoom in, that's very bad. What is shortcut? Can I can't zoom in, that's weird. I should be able to zoom in. I mean, why am I not able to? Okay, forget it. Is it visible, yes or no? Then otherwise I'll use something else. Is it you visible? Okay, let's use something else. There's something, there's an extension called Thunder client, right? In the VS code itself. So I think Thunderbird or Thunder, something like that. Very small, bro. Yeah. So there's something called Thunder client. So it's already installed. That's great. So it's like it is already installed. Yeah, exactly. So we'll be going to this Thunder client right now, and then we'll create a new request. So we can send a request from here as well, right? Very small. Please switch to Postman or Thunder client. I'm switching to Thunder client. Okay. Okay. So we are on Thunder client, and then what we'll do is we'll do a post request. So we'll select post from here, and then we'll do http double dot slash slash localhost port, I don't know, 8080 slash API slash auth slash, what was it, create user, right? So we'll say create user, and there will be one issue. It wouldn't directly work, I think so, right? So if I just select JSON as a type, because we want to send a body, for example, I want to send name and it should be J. I just want to send this to the user. If I just say send, I get this is working, but I get undefined in the body. Why is it? Why are we getting undefined in the body? Because Express itself doesn't know, like by default it doesn't know that it's going to receive something in the body and it should handle it. It doesn't know this, right? you need to you need to give all those superpowers using some middleware, right? And there is like two different middlewares which is provided by default to you in Express, right? So we'll be learning about that right now, like how to use them, right? So two of those middlewares are, first of all, JSON parse. Yeah, JSON parse, exactly, correct. So it's called app.use, right? Express.json. This will enable you to parse any JSON which is coming from the request. So anything which is like coming from the request, this will parse it and place it in the body of that particular request, right? So if you say express.json, this will parse anything which is coming from the front end and will put it in the body. So let's see how does my same API which I've written before reacts when we do this. Hey bro, hey Yash, what's up? How are you doing? You can see now we have the body. Surprisingly, now it is not undefined. We have whatever we are passing over here. If we pass like test, and if we pass like should be JSON. This is not JavaScript object, so I should always remember this. And okay, so if I just do this, and if I say send, you can see that's exactly what we are receiving in the backend. Super, that's great. We are able to receive anything which is sent from the from the backend as a this. But one thing still wouldn't work. One thing still wouldn't work. But before teaching what wouldn't work, I would like to teach one thing. Like, let's say, right? So let's say if you have a folder, right? So you have a folder called, let's say, public, right? And you want to serve this entire folder as a as like this, you want to make this folder open, and anybody who is having access to your backend server could access this particular public folder. What you could do some in Express is, again, everything is done through a middleware, so I think this is also a middleware. So you can say app.use express dot static, and then you can mention the name of the folder. For example, I'm going to use public, so public, and of course I'll be explaining how this works. Just hold on, right? So if I say public, and then whatever I have in the public directory will be directly available with that, like slash whatever the public, whatever you have in the public directory. For example, let's say right now I'll create a test.txt file. I'll say this is a test, right? So I created a file and I want to access this file, right? I can directly access this because I have written this over here, which is app.use express.static. So it will be serving everything which is there in this public folder as a static file. Okay. So I'll go to my Thunder, whatever that stuff was, Thunder client. I'll go over here, and then what I'll say is I'll just directly say, so this is resolved from the root, right? So this is test.txt, right? So you can see what are we getting? The route you are searching for does not. What do you mean? This is the GET request by default. So you can see request man doesn't launch. I'll just take this and put this on my browser to show you how does this work. You can see we are directly serving that text file from that particular folder which we have written. So the static directly serves a file or a folder. Let's say you have a lot of images getting, like you're uploading a lot of images, you can directly do this like this from here, right? Okay, it is not only the text file you can serve. Bro, can you please give the Discord link? I want to join the Discord channel. Sure, bro. Please give me ideas. How could I use my Discord channel? Because I'm very bad with Discord. I don't have a lot of experience managing a Discord channel or anything like that. So please, all of you guys who are watching, uh, like throw out few suggestions. What could I do with my Discord channel? What how could I provide more value by a Discord channel? Like what should I share? What all things could I do over there? You can guide me. Okay, so there's my Discord channel link. All of you guys who want to join, please join. Okay, so let's move ahead. Okay, I just forget what I was explaining. I was explaining this. Okay, so it's not only text file. You can serve an HTML file from here. So you can say public HTML, and then you can write a normal HTML, for example. Like I hope so you're here for backend, so you definitely know some HTML. So like test HTML, I can write anything like that. This is a page served from my Express JS backend, right? You can do this, and basically this will be served at like whatever slash test.html. So if I go to test.html right now, this will be served, right? Okay, I think Yatharth just joined. I got the notification, so great, welcome. So this page is being served from my Express backend. You can see directly I can access test.html. If any one of you guys are not understanding anything, or you have some confusion, or if you don't understood something in the stream, please let me know. Okay, so we have test.html, and there you go. We are searching this. But now we have a question: how to send a date? Let's say we have a form, right? So we have a form, and we have something like let's say action slash whatever, what slash API slash auth slash uh, whatever, what can I say, form, right? Right. And let's say, for example, we have few of the stuff. So we have an input. Let's say for the example, this is type text, and we have placeholder name, right? And then we have a name called name, right? For example, right? And then what we have is we have a, what should we have? We have an email, right? And then for example, we have email, right? Right. And let's say you want to send this data. You want to send this data to your backend. How will you do it? There's one difficult way. There's one easy way. So I can say input type. I can say submit. Right, there you go. So now this is how it looks. The problem is, if we write a name and an email, how would we send this to our backend? That's the question we want to answer. So hold on. I'll go and cast. This is easy. Okay, so this is our backend, and what I want to do is I want to send a name and an email ID from this backend. So now, right now, let's see what happens. So it sends a post request to this particular location with a form data, right? So if I submit this, you see right here searching for does not exist because this does not exist. Okay, we need some way to handle the form data, right? We would need to some way to handle the form data. How are we going to do that? We are going to do that using something called a form parser, a body parser, right? There's something called body parser. So there's like a separate, what I can say, there's a separate body parser middleware available you can use, but I don't think so you need that right now. So you can use something called app.use express, not like that. I mean express dot URL len encoded, and you can say extended true. Now doing this would do what? Doing this would parse. So I would like to do one more thing. I would like to have this JSON after this. Okay. So this would do what is this would parse all your form data. So whatever forms you have, this will parse everything and put it in the body, I guess. So we'll see how does this work. Okay. So we have this. That's kind of amazing. So next thing what we can do is we can create this route, whatever we have mentioned over here, slash auth slash form, whatever, like that, right? So we'll go to auth and then we can create a post request called form. For example, we just want to say this to create user, right? And let's log this. So we'll say create user only over here. So instead of form, let's say create user, right? And I think it also says something called method. So I would like to use post method for this. Hold on, what am I even doing, bro? So I want to use post method for this. There you go. So as a backend dev, toughest work is to center a div. Correct, bro. Correct. Centering a div is the toughest job you can do, right? I mean, yeah. If it's tailwind, I would do it something like this: flex, justify center. Yeah, this would center a div. Interesting. So we'll be doing some tailwind classes someday, but that's how you do it. Okay, so we have this post, and let's see does it work, or like do we don't get like good things, right? So let's say test@test.com. Do we get what we want? So it's still the route which you're searching for does not exist because we haven't refreshed the page. We'll have to refresh this, right? So we'll say test@test.com, and then we'll submit it, and this is working. So let's see what do we get. We get everything which we have submitted in the form directly in the body. Why we are getting it? Because we have this particular stuff in our middleware, which is express.url encoded extended true. I hope so all of you guys are learning a lot. All of you guys are enjoying the stream. Let's move ahead. So the next we learned how to how to serve something as a static. We learned how to access the params. We learned how to do all those stuff. Now let's say, for example, let's say this is very interesting. This is a little bit advanced for all of you guys are watching. Let's say we have a file as an input, right? So we have a file as an input, right? For example, select an image, right? And let's say I want to accept all the image. I think that's how you do it, images, right? And then you do like this, or like you do like this, something like that. I think you do like this, how you do this, right? So I want to select a file, and let's say the name of this file is like dp or like picture, like that's what the file is. How can you upload a file from a front end to a backend? So for example, I refresh this, I have a file, right? How can you upload a file? Because it wouldn't work like normally. Your URL then works only for the text data. It doesn't work for files, right? So all of you guys who want some advanced stuff, here is how you do it. So there's something called Multer. Very interesting stuff. This is a middleware which is used for uploading files. Very interesting stuff. So let's learn how to upload files very quickly. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll install Multer. So let's say bun add Multer. So we have added Multer. So we'll say bun add @types slash Multer. Right, great. So we have added Multer and the type slash Multer. Now we'll be creating a middleware which will help us to handle this particular thing as well. So file as an input as well. So let's go. So we'll go to auth, and let's say in the same thing, like let's say in the create user only, we want to accept the picture of the user as well. So how can you do that? So let's import Multer. Like the first simple step is importing Multer from Multer, not like that. I mean Multer, great. And then what we'll create is we'll create an upload like this, something like that, upload variable, and we'll call it Multer, right? And there's a very simple way. So you can use something like dest. So this is basically there's something called dest. I'm sorry. There's something called def, and this is simply mention a folder name in which you want to upload all your files. So for example, I want to upload all my files in a folder named public, so I want to install it in public. You can create different folders. I want to upload it in the public, so you can say public. We'll be learning the advanced Multer as well right now, just after this, but let's make it work, right? And then what you need to do is you need to say over here as a middleware that I want to upload a single file. I want to upload a single file whose name, what do I mean by name? Name is simply what you have mentioned over here. So name is pick, right? So whose input name is pick, right? So what I'll do is I'll just do this pick, great. So we have upload single file pick, right? Great. So now you will see that your file is being uploaded. So let's try this, right? So what I'll do is I'll just write test, I'll write test, and I'll say choose file, and I'll have to select some file now. I'll go to downloads. I'll just let's say I want to select this GitHub icon. This very not so great GitHub icon. Let's select this. This is a server. Do not close it. This is from my office. Some funny stuff. Let's say I want to upload this, right? So I want to say open. So this is selected, and I'll click submit. I think my server crashed, or I haven't. Yeah, my server wasn't learning. So I'll say burn dev, which will run my server, and my server wasn't running. So we are here. Let's click submit again. So if I click submit again, this is working, great. And we should have some files now. So we have a pick as a form data. That's great. And that's the file which it has uploaded. So if I go to, wait, that's not correct. I mean, where has it uploaded my file? It hasn't uploaded my file. That's weird. It should have uploaded my file. Why is it? There's some issue. I guess this should have been dot slash. Will it work now? There should be a file over here. Should I refresh this? No, it's not uploading. Let's fix this. So this is not a good way. I wouldn't recommend doing this like directly, because it doesn't work, as you can see. So now what we'll do is we'll mention something called storage. Storage, like you get like I want to store this locally. I want to store this file locally. And then what I want to say is I want to say multer.disk storage. So this test multer that you want to store this in your disk, right? And then you can pass a lot of different stuff to this. For example, one of the thing which you can pass is destination, right? So there's a lot of different things which it gives us. So it gives us a request, it gives us response, and it gives us the file. If you're confused, where am I getting all this, you can go to Multer documentation, Multer docs, and you'll get all of these things which I'm talking about. So they're like one of the disk storage stuff. I think I'll get somewhere. Yeah, there you go. So in that, so you get request, file, and callback. Sorry, so there's no response. You get a request, file, and a callback. Right, great. So now in the callback, the first parameter is the error. So if you don't have error, you can directly pass the file location, for example. So what I would like to pass is callback. The first is error, so we don't have an error, and we want to say the file name. So it's public, for example. Right. So I want to use public as a folder where all of the things will be uploaded. Second thing, file name. So you can modify the file name which is being uploaded. I'll be explaining this. How does this work? File name. So you get file name, and you get the same stuff, which is request, file, and callback. Request, file, and callback. Right, great. Bro, how you are getting suggestions in terminals? Copilot? No, bro, it's not Copilot. What I'm using is something called Fish, right? So in normal Mac, you have different kinds of terminals. You have ZSH, which is a very good terminal. Then you have Fish, so I'm using Fish, and there's a default feature of Fish that you get suggestions. Okay. So request, response, callback, and then there you go. So now what you can do is you can use like a lot of different properties of this file, and now you must be having question, what all properties does this file have? It's all mentioned over here. So you can see this is the file information. So you can get the field name, you can get the original name, encoding, mem type, everything, right? So I'll be using exactly the same code, which is very interesting. So what I'll say is I'll for example right now I'll just say callback. Bro, how do we handle image file when we are using DB in the production mode? When you're using DB in the production mode? Sure, bro. We'll be definitely learning. We'll be connecting a database as well. So let's go step by step. I left at JSON middleware. What happened in between? So you left at JSON middleware. We learned how to submit forms, sit and relax. We learned how to what is after. You can you all of you guys are watching. Just tell sit and relax. What have we learned after that? Okay, and then we can pass it any file name. So for example, what file name I want to pass is like whatever the original name is, file dot original name. I want to keep whatever the original name is. Typically you don't keep the original name, but right now I want to keep the original name. We'll be definitely learning how to modify this and how to use your own different name, but let's keep the original name. And yeah, this is kind of okay. Let's see, does it does it work or does it not work? Oh, our server is not running. We'll get that. Okay, we have some issues over here, I guess. Expected this. So yeah, this is an arrow function, so we'll say this. Similar thing goes over here. This is an arrow function, so we'll call this. And great, we have it working. So we'll say dev, our server is back online. Great. So now we can go over here and we can go back and we can refresh stuff, and we can say test, and we can choose a file, for example this one, submit. Great. So we have this, and I think we should have the file now. Oh, why are we not having the file? That's insane. There's something wrong. I think there's some issue with this directory or something like that. Can I have like very weird. Why are we not getting the files? Anybody who is here for help? Let's figure this out. Why are we not getting the file, as in like, why is it not getting uploaded? Right, that's what we have to figure out. So let's see, is it even reaching here? So what we can do is we can log if this is working, right? So we can say, is it like, is the Multer middleware even working? We can verify it using that. So we go over here, we go back, we submit it again, and this is working, and then we say so is running. So it is not even going there, so it is not going to the upload thing, but it should have been. Why is this not working? Any suggestions, anyone over here? Why, any idea on like why could this not be working? uh hmm why it could not be working? What could be the potential reason? uh I don't see a reason. I mean, the code is exactly correct. uh let's try to restart our server. That might fix the issue. And let's try to change this names, right? So let's create a new folder, and let's call it images, and let's try to store all the stuff in the images, right? So let's try to do it like images. Should I give like the complete path? The callback takes the destination, and should this be complete path? I don't think so. Images is kind of fine. Oh, right, you're searching for does not exist. We'll say submit, and this is working, and there you go. And we have images which does not have anything. I left at JSON. What happened next? We have some issue, all of you guys who are watching. Our upload image is not working, and we will fix it at any cost. So let's try to fix it at any cost. So I think in real world development you do get errors, and you do get like problems like this where the things which you 100% expect to be working doesn't work. So let's try to fix this. First thing, why it couldn't be working. So let's examine from the top. We have Multer, which is fine. I guess Multer is okay. And then we say this, does it? Okay, so let's go to the documentation. Let's see. You do this, and then you provide this in the storage. That's kind of fine. And then you do this, which is also okay. So you have a callback, you have a request, you have a file, all the things are okay. And I don't see an issue. I don't think this is an issue. Everything is correct. Something else is messing up. So that means our Multer is all correct. So let's go to the index.ts, and I think there is some issue over here. Let's try to, for example, just for 2 seconds, let's try to comment both of these URL Linux and this thing. Let's try to like comment this out, and let's try now, like, does it solve our issue? Let's see. So we say submit, and this is working, and this seems to be working. It doesn't work. Why it doesn't it, right? And then if I do it like the post request, and then in the body I do like form, right? So we have a form data. and then I have a pick, and the value is files. What do you mean by this? How do I, okay, so this is normal field, so I don't want this, so I want a pick. That's a file, so I'll just choose some file, but I'll go to downloads, and I'll pick the same file which I have, which is a JPEG file, and I will send a request to this. So let's send a request, and I get this is working, and this should technically, yeah, there you go, it is working. So we have successfully uploaded a, a image using a post request. We have successfully uploaded an image using a post request. Great. I guess we'll have to not even remove this. So that was all fine. There was some issue with that form data or something like that. So I think doing a little bit of Googling would solve that issue. You Google stuff and why form submission from an HTML doesn't upload the file, but it is working directly if we trigger it from here. That means our API is 100% working. Let's try to choose some other pick. For example, let's try to go to the images, and let's try to upload this file, which is wallpaper.whatever JPEG. If I do that, if I refresh once, I guess, oh, I haven't sent the request. There you go, this is working, and there you go, the wallpaper.ts. Now let's look at the next case, which is how to modify bro, any recommendations and sources for people wanting to get into full stack development and just finished basics. Recommendations for full stack, bro, create projects, create like at least 2 or 3 projects, mention it in your resume, and apply to a lot of different internships on LinkedIn. I think you'll get your first internship, and then you'll meet people who will tell you the rest of it, like what do you want to do. The next stuff is, let's say someone uploads the same 2 files with wallpaper.jpg and wallpaper.jpg, like the same name. You have the conflicting name, and then you'll overwrite the files. Now you don't know how to store them. So for that particular, like for building a solution for that, regarding that, this file name callback has been made. So what we can do is we can just say name of file, or like file name, something like that, and I can say math dot, like for example, I can say math dot now, and not math dot now, date dot now. This will give us the timestamp, current timestamp, and then what we can do is we can use this file dot current name, whatever, right? I can just paste this over here. No, I can just paste this over here, and I can say this, and I can tell this, and then I can pass this file name. So now every time what will happen is this date dot now will be a completely new number, and then every time your file will be new. So I'll just show you this in working. For example, I'll just upload the same wallpaper.jpg. It will append the current timestamp with it. So we can send this, and then you can see the current timestamp is before this wallpaper.jpg, and your name is always unique in this particular case. Great. And the best part is you can save this in images. I'll delete this right now, all the image, like the entire image folder, and I can say public could be my could be my folder. So instead of images, I can say public could be my folder. Great. And now if I upload the same file through the Thunderbird, right, I could do it very easily. And if I just send the request, this will be going to my public, and I can directly access this by the name. So if I just copy this, and if I go to my browser, and if I like directly do this over here, you can see I can directly access the whatever. So I can directly access this particular wallpaper. Great. Okay. Should we go to the database, or am I missing something in the basics? I think basics are done, and now we'll be going to the database. Are you guys ready for the database? Yes or no? But before going to the database, I would drink some water. So I'll go and bring my water bottle. So all of you guys who are watching, let's start with the database. How many of you are excited for the database? We'll be using Prisma for this particular video. So we'll be using Prisma and Postgres. You can use any other database for your development if you wish, but right now we'll be using Prisma. So all of you guys who are excited, welcome to the club. I think a lot of you just joined the server, which is good. Great. Okay. So the next thing what we'll do is we will be focusing on how you can create databases, and then kind of like play with, like, you can connect your backend with databases. Okay. So the first thing what we'll do is we'll create a Docker Compose file. So we'll create a Docker Compose file so that this creates all the stuff which we need, like all the database, all the everything, right? So we'll say version, and I want to use version 3.2 as as a like the version of Docker Compose. If you guys don't know Docker Compose, that's completely okay. It's very, very simple. Don't worry. Okay. You need to have a Docker installed for this to work, right? And if you don't want to have the Docker Compose, you already have Postgres installed, completely fine. Don't skip this part. You can watch the part after I do this Docker part. Then what I want to say is I want to have services, and the first service I want to have is DB, and I want to use image. The image which I want to use is Postgres, and whatever the latest version of I think this is like done like this. So whatever the latest version of this is available, I just use that. That's great. Then we can say I think environment, something like that, and then the first environment variable is, I don't remember what should be the environment variable for this. Postgres Docker image, right? Postgres Docker image, and we'll go to this official documentation for Postgres, and then we'll check what should be the way to set the set the email ID and password. So it says Postgres password, and user ID by default is Postgres, so that's kind of okay. So we'll say user ID is password. I guess this would work. Certainly this would work. Should work. I don't know. So if I go over here, if I replace this with this, is it fine? Yeah. So the password which we want to use is root, and I think there's like Postgres user or username or something like that. I don't remember it exactly. So your password, and yeah, it's user, right? I don't use Prisma as of now, bro. I think please don't use Prisma as of now. Then what should I use, and what is left? What do you think I haven't? Let's go step by step. So sure, if you want to go step by step, we can do that. But what is left? I don't see anything left. Let me recall. What have we not covered yet? So like what should be the next step? Like do you have any suggestions? Like what is the next step? I mean, you know all these things, you know how to handle basic routes, uh, you know how to upload a file, you know how to you know how to create routes, right? The next step is basically database, I guess. Gautam, do you have any suggestion? What should we cover next? what what are we jumping through? Like what is the thing which we are skipping in the whole thing? Any suggestions? We'll do that. Any suggestions? What should we learn next? I guess the obvious step is database, right? I mean, I don't know what am I leaving. Like, please give me like, help me recall. What am I leaving? So of course, if you're thinking about MVC, like how to do like model, and then how to have like the routes, and how to have the all those things. Of course, we'll be learning that, but uh, let's start with the database. I think then it will be more interesting. And don't worry, database is not very complex. It's simple, bro. Right? It's simple. Okay. So means handling database without using Prisma. Bro, handling database without using Prisma is difficult, bro. It's like it's not very simple. I think handling database with Prisma is easy. It makes using database like Postgres much more easier. And trust me, you wouldn't find it difficult, Gautam. Prisma is easy, trust me. After watching this particular video, like if you stay here while we use Prisma will be very simple for you. Okay. Prisma is an ORM, by the way, all of you guys who are watching. ORM stands for object relational mapping, and it kind of like Prisma helps you to create queries without actually writing SQL, which is like SQL, right? So that's good, right? You don't want to write SQL raw queries, right? Because yeah, because a lot of people don't find it very comfortable writing SQL, so you can use that. Great. So we have this environment variables, and we have this, and then like the next thing is ports, I guess. We want like to use certain kind of ports. So let's say use 4041 for this, and this runs I think by default on which port? I don't remember. Is it having some port? Uh, the default port is what? I don't know. I think there was something related to port over there. Yeah, it runs on port 8080, and then you have what is the default port on which Postgres runs? 5432. I think that's the port. I think so. What is the default port it has? I don't remember. Why do I don't remember? I think 5432. That's the default port. 5432, that's the default port, and we want to map 5432 as well of like our, let me check my Docker, I think. Hold on. Let me check my Docker, and we have onboarding backend. So we'll just stop this. And I think the default port is uh 5432. That's the port, yeah. 5432. I'm gonna map this to 5432. Uh 5432. So what do you mean by this is like whatever, like the inside the Docker image, this will be running Postgres, and internally the port of 5432 will be mapped with the host, which is us in this case, this computer, Mac of 5432. So we will be able to access this particular stuff over there. And then we can create some volume, I guess, volumes, and then let's name it like, what should we name it? Like test. Like how do you create volumes, bro? I've forgotten. I just forgotten how do you create volumes. Volumes, volumes in what, in Docker Compose. I have just forgotten how to create Docker Compose volumes, so we'll have to see. So yeah, you just do this. Okay. So for example, I'll just say my db volume. So what is volume? Volume is very simple. Volume is a space where all your data will be stored. All your databases data will be stored. So we have volume, and then next what we can do is we can, please ignore this. If you are not very comfortable with Docker, you can move to the next part. You can set it up using very simple like installation of your stuff. Okay, so we'll say volumes, and then we'll say use my db vol, right? That's what I'm going to use. Yeah, I think, and then you can say like slash yeah, you, hi Yash Kamal Saxena. What's up, Yash Kamal? What we'll do is we'll map it to slash, I think there's like opt temp. There's a like temp available, right? So let's map it to temp, and we'll be storing all our volume inside this particular Docker container inside temp volume, and then this will be, I think, pretty okay. So what we'll do next is there's a command called docker compose up. Right? This will help us to, oh wait, db refers to undefined volume, my db vol, my db. Okay, we are just, yeah, this is correct now. Postgres latest, what we'll do is we'll just call it Postgres. So we'll not call it like, yeah. So we are fetching Postgres. Database is ready and ready to accept connection. That means currently our database is running, so we are able to have a Postgres database, an empty Postgres database, which we can run. Great. So we have a database now. How do you instantiate something like Prisma? It's very simple. What you do is you call something like npx Prisma, right? Prisma and init. And if you guys don't know what Prisma is a very simple tool. Prisma is a tool. Yes, like bhai, these are all going weird because I'm a newbie, but still watching because I feel good. That's good, Yash. You don't need to understand this, bro. I get it. I get it. This looks very complex, but it's completely fine. Like this is very simple. Uh, but I would say you can skip this part. This was just for setting up the database. I want to set up a new database for all of you guys who are watching. That's why I created a compose file. You can ignore this. And now let's watch. Imagine, okay, so how to, like, you can set, like, you can have a normal Postgres instance by directly downloading the Postgres like database. I would say like something like this. You can have like Postgres. Hold on. You can go over here. I think there's like downloads. You can go to downloads, and you'll get like the Mac OS package. You'll get the Windows package. All of these like different operating system. You can select your operating system, download Postgres, install it, and then you'll be having a Postgres database very simply. Okay. So we'll ignore this right now. We have a database. That's what we'll consider. Next thing what we can do is we can say Prisma init. Now what is Prisma? Prisma is an ORM. What is ORM? ORM is like you use Mongoose, right? Mongoose lets you use models to create collections and all those things, right? Prisma is like a tool which enables you to create tables, create entries inside that table, update the data in the table. You can write very complex queries without writing actual SQL using Prisma. So Prisma helps you to do all of those things very easily. If you want to learn more about Prisma, I would highly recommend go to their documentation. They have some very amazing documentations. Some of the best documentation available online is of Prisma, I guess. Very good documentation. I just love the documentation here. So Prisma ORM, get started. Yeah, there you go. I think a lot of things has been mentioned over there. It's for Next.js, Apollo. A lot of things are there. I think. Why is it like this? Wait, bro. Wait, hold on. Prisma client. This is not what we want. We want Prisma accelerated. Forget it. We'll just let's get started. So what we say is npx Prisma init, which initializes this Prisma in your particular project. So I'll just say yes. I think we should have done bunx, something like that. I think there is bunx, so we can say bunx Prisma init, right? That will, yeah, bunx is like npx if you're using bun, so bunx is like npx but for bun. So it's downloading Prisma engine for Node API, Darwin API, whatever, like it's doing stuff. Once it is done, you'll see few things in your project. First of all, you'll have a Prisma folder, and that will have a Prisma schema.prisma. Of course, I'll be explaining what schema.prisma is, and you would have nothing else. That's pretty much it. And then you'll have one more entry in your database URL where you have to insert your database URL. So let's start by changing the database URL we have. So our database has root as the username, root as a, and it's a local host, and the database which we want to construct is my test db, right? So the name of the database is my test db. It's the password goes over here, but mongo we can use some connection functions, and then we use the cluster like a callback. But in Postgres we are doing the Docker stuff. Why? What is the advantage? First of all, why we are doing the Docker stuff? I would like to answer that question. See, like Gautam, if you're an explorer, right, you like to explore different databases, different technologies, different instances, because we're gonna cover Redis is also in this, and sometimes. So installing all those on your local computer is very difficult, because you mess up things, you delete databases, you create stuff, and then if you have a wrong installation, that's also a very big burden. So just to experiment stuff, I install all the databases on Docker, right? And this like Docker Compose helps me to install stuff way faster, right? On an average, Gautam, if you are installing a Postgres database, for example, right, you'll download the whatever like that installer is. If it's in Linux or Mac, it's much more difficult, right? You need to set up that entire Postgres database. You need to set the password. It's very difficult, bro. It's very difficult. Doing this way is very simple. You just write, okay, I'm on a database. Then you'll see eventually, like in a while, we would like need a Redis. So I'll say I need a Redis, and the image is basically I want to use Redis, right? It's very simple. It's not very complex. I just want you to be open to ideas. Like that's good, right? Like, why have I done this? Like the core purpose was this raised a curiosity on all of you guys. Like, okay, what the hell is this, right? And once that curiosity is raised, you will be doing more googling and a little bit of searching, and then you'll know why we use Docker Compose. Docker Compose helps you to set up environments locally very fast as compared to any other method which you know, right? So that's why we are using Docker Compose. So that we will need Redis after this. We'll need, like what we have already, we'll be running our own backend in the Docker itself. We can do all of these things, and it helps you to do that faster. Okay. So once we do this and we have a Prisma, I think that's what your question is, right? Okay. So now we have please like just tell me like if I missed some part. I think, but in Mongo we use some connection function. Okay, so the connection function which you use in the Mongo, right, Gautam? That MongoDB is, I suppose you're using something like Mongo Atlas, which is hosted in some place, right? So you, so that hosting is not done like technically in a normal environment. You wouldn't use the database which is hosted by someone else. You'll be hosting your database yourself, right? Yes, I'm asking our of curiosity. Sorry if I, no, that's not a dumb question, Gautam. That's completely a legit question. A lot of you guys will be confused, right? So why are we not using some connection URL provided by some Atlas like website? Because we are hosting our database on our own local computer. That's the reason we are not using a external link or something like that. We are doing it everything on our own. Everything is in our local machine. Okay. So let's learn something like this. Okay. So first thing, what are all these things like written, right? So generator and data source. First of all, Prisma could be used with any kind of database. It is just Postgres what we are using. You can use this with MongoDB. You can use this with I think it supports a lot of different databases. You can use this with like 3-4 different kinds of databases. What we are going to use it this is with Postgres, right? Now let's start. Let's assume we have a user thing, right? We have a user thing and we want to create several users. So we want to create a table called user. And for creating tables in Prisma, you use something called model. Model is like a table. So we want to create a user table, right? So we want to create like what we have is a user model, right? And if you installed Prisma and this is very boring, you don't have any syntax highlighting, that's because you haven't installed this extension, which is called Prisma. So I have this extension called Prisma installed. I don't know where this is, but it should be there. This extension Prisma, please install this if you want some good highlighting and auto completion over here. Okay. So we have a user table and the user will have some name. And now how you mention the type over here, you don't give this, you say string. So now user have a string, and if you must be thinking that why is this error coming? Because if you know a little bit of SQL or MySQL or Postgres, every table should have a primary key. Now that primary key for us will be the user ID, and the ID will be of type, for example, let's say we want to have like int as a type, right? And then what we want to do is we want to say uh, so ID is int basically, and then what we want to say is we want to say this is our primary key. So then you can say @ID. So whatever you write @ID with is basically now your primary key. So for example, the ID is now our primary key. I think this makes sense for all of you guys, right? So ID is the primary key now, and the name is string, right? The next thing what we want is we want the email ID, right? So email ID is string, and we want to make it unique. That means there couldn't be a duplicate email ID in our database, right? So that's unique. What else could we have? We could have a bio, which is like a string, right? And this could be optional. So this is not compulsory. So this is like question mark means this is not compulsory. This could be null. Very simple, right? Next thing what we can have is we can have something like what else should we have? We have an email ID, we have a bio, we should have a password, right? So we should have a password, and the password is string. And then we could have a salt as well, but let's not have it right now, right? Password is not optional. Password should be there. It's kind of required. That's kind of good. Okay, so now we have one table which is user, and this is connected to a database URL which is coming from the environment variable file which has the database URL. So in the .env file we have a database URL, and this is the URL we are getting connected to, and this is in the schema.prisma file. Great, amazing. We have a model, we have a table, but how do you now? Okay, we have written this. Now how do you have the how to have this table in the database? So now what you can use is you can use something like a command to generate a migration. Now let's explain migration. These are some of the very production words, right? So these are not used in day-to-day development like very generally. These are used in a lot of so let's learn what is a database migration now. What we'll be learning right now is what is a database migration, right? Of course we'll be zooming this. So let's say for example you had a user table, right? You had a user table, and that had name, that had email, that had our email is required for you, and that has for example that has bio, right? For example, this is your table, right? So you created a table like this. So every change which you do in this particular table or your database, like the schema of the database, you do it in certain sequences. So you do certain changes, and then you do certain changes, and then you do certain changes. All those eventual changes to your database is known as migrations, right? Migrations, like what all things are changing in your database. Very simple, right? So for example, and why is this required? You must be thinking, okay, apply the schema, right? Why the hell do we need why the hell do we need this concept of migrations? Because I'll tell you, because every change is not very simple. For example, let's say uh, this bio was this email was required, right? So you have you have some 30 entries which has this email required, and then you made a database schema where this email is not required. Then no, this is not a good example. Let's think of some other example. Let's say this bio is not required, right? So this is not required, right? And let's say someday 30 or 40 days later, you after a lot of different changes, you suddenly decide you want the bio to be required. Now think about it. What about all the users which have already been created, which does not have a bio, right? That's an issue. So that could be solved by an eventual change. So you can actually decide that what should happen to that all those users who were already having bio as null. So migrations help you to avoid these kind of issues, and it is like all the eventual changes, step by step changes to your what schema. What is schema? The structure of your database, like the tables, the structure of the tables. That's what your schema is. Okay, great. So let's create a migration. Let's create the first migration. How do you create a migration in Prisma? Very simple. What you do is npx Prisma, and then you write migrate, and then you write dev. So let's create migration in dev mode. We said enter, and this will ask you to write a name for your migration. So I'll say yes, and for example, for now let's give it a very simple name. For example, let's give it like init migration, like initial migration, right? So you will see that this will create a folder called migrations in your Prisma, and this will have all the SQL. Very surprising, right? This will have all the SQL. This will have another folder, and this will have all the SQL to create your tables, right? So for example, we want to create user table. This has user. We want to create all this table. This has all those stuff, and we have finally created a migration, which is great. Now, how to apply this migration? So you want to apply this migration. You want to have this in the like you want to have this in the database. How do you do that? So you can do like npx prisma uh, migrate deploy, in order to deploy this migration, in order to like execute all those SQL statements which were written by this. So as soon as you do this, one migration is applied. So basically when you create a migration, it automatically applies it as well. So that's why it is saying no pending migration, but in typical cases it would apply it, right? So that's how you, so now all the changes are in our database. Now how to see them? There's like a lot of different database visualizers, like through which you can see your database, but there's a one provided by Prisma as well. So you can say npx Prisma Studio, right? So let's not call it npx, let's call it a bunex Prisma Studio. And now this will start a server at port 5500, and this will show you your entire database. So for example, we have a user table with 0 entries, so our user table does not have any users so far. That's great, right? So we have a user table with no user, and our user table have an id, a name, a email id, a bio, and a password. How many of you are finding this okay-ish, like you can understand it, and how many of you are finding it very difficult, you don't get it, like what I'm doing? Is it very complex, or is it okay, I can get it? It's a little bit complex, but it's making sense. Could like anybody tell, like, is it making sense, or is it very difficult? You don't understand even a bit of what I'm doing. I want an answer. All of you guys who are watching, come on, can I have an answer? Can I have an answer? Is this making sense, or is it very confusing? Please give an answer, please. Not difficult. Yes, yes, yes says not difficult. Here we have what? Hold on. I'll have to message my friend. So okay. So Yash says not difficult. It's good explanation. Thank you, Yash. Okay. So now we know how we have a database. Now the problem is how to connect to the database. We have created a database. We have applied the migration. All cool. We are good to go. But how to connect to the database? That's the question. So for that particular stuff, we use something called Prisma client, and let's see how does Prisma client works. Okay. So we'll be learning a little bit advanced stuff. All of you guys who are watching, please be with me. Please pay attention, because now you wouldn't be understanding if you wouldn't pay attention, because it's getting a little bit to the advanced side. Now we'll be creating a utils. Let's not create a utils file. I mean, let's create a database or data.ts file. And this will be responsible for providing everything. Like for example, there's a Redis server, which is a caching server, caching database. There's something called a Postgres. So everything related to data will be over here, right? So we'll say const data provider. So this is like, this will provide all the data to us. And then we'll be creating a static variable over here. We'll call it database, right? And this will be of type Prisma client. I don't know why is it not import something from @Prisma client. I think we would get Prisma client from here. Yeah. So we have a Prisma client. So what we'll say is we'll say this is Prisma client. Great. So we have this. Great. And let's export this right now. So export default. Oh, there shouldn't be class. There should be class. There shouldn't be like this, right? And then we can say static. I don't think so. This should be like this. Okay. So now we can export this by default. So we'll say export default a data provider. And now what the structure which I'm following right now is called singleton instance. Why do we need this singleton instance? Why do we follow this? Because we don't want to have multiple connections to the database in a single application. We want to have a single instance of that database connection, what we are making with the Postgres. We just want to have a single instance throughout the application. And we don't want to have like in every file, we don't want to create different like 30 different connections or 30 different instances. So we do use this pattern called singleton instance, very simple. So we'll say get database. This is a static function. So this is static, right? Static is what is static? Static is something you can access this function without creating an instance of this class. All of this would make sense. All of you guys who are watching, please keep watching. All of this would make sense. Please let me write this first, okay? So if right there's this instance of this database is not found. Oh, this is not found, right? So if there's no instance of this database, then this dot database is equal to new Prisma client. So if there's no database available, please create a new one, right? And then return this dot database. So there will be always that if it already exists, right? It will directly return whatever the database is, and if it does not exist, it will create a Prisma client out of this. And this Prisma client is the tool by which we can access everything which is there in our database. We can modify stuff, we can update stuff, we can do all those stuff using this something called Prisma client. Great. We have Prisma client, we are returning it, and we are using something called a singleton pattern. So now you have learned how to create a singleton pattern in TypeScript. So this will have one single instance throughout your application, which is great. Hi Kiran Goswami, what's Gosavi? I don't know. I'm sorry I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but hello, hi, what's up? How are you? So we have this data provider and we have a database over here, and we are getting like this get database that gives us the database instance. Great. Now, as we have created that database TS file, we have the database access. We'll be explaining how, but let's go to the auth file and let's actually start creating something useful. So let's get rid of all of these things. And we shouldn't have removed the auth router. And let's create an API now, which signs up the user, which creates an account of a user, right? So we'll say, what should we say? Auth router dot post request, and we'll say sign up. So we'll sign up route, and we'll say request response. Great. We have a request and response, and we have a sign up route, which will sign up the data. Okay, the next thing what we'll be learning is data validation. So all of you guys who are watching this thing from beginning, you know we can access the body from here. So we can say whatever, like body or like user data is equal to request.body. This will have all, but as you guys must have noticed, we can send anything in the request data. We can send user's name, age, whatever. We can send his father's and mother's name, even if that is not required for signing him up, right? That's not, that could be like completely off the table. We don't want the user's father's name for creating his account. Like, we are a social media site. We are not making some government document. So you can verify that the body is of certain, it follows certain rules by something called validating it. How do you validate it? So you validate it by something called an validation library. There's a lot of different available. What I like is Yup. There is something called Joy, which is also a library. So I would write some of them which I know. So there's something called Zod. Oh, let's use Zod. Zod is also, I think, good. So you can use Zod. You can use Yup. You can use Joy. So all of these validation libraries are available. I think the most popular right now out of all these is Zod because of the Next.js and all. But let's use Yup, for example. Right? Let's use Yup right now. They work kind of in the same way. So if you know one, you'll know all of them probably. They differ in like very little, like some ways in which you handle stuff. So what I'll do is I'll just say bun add, and I'll say Yup. So that will add Yup as a validation library to our app. We'll also define the types as well. Aman Kumar, we can create middleware for this, right? For what? For validation library, validating. Aman Kumar, that's very valid. Of course, you can create a middleware for this as well. I think no license found. type, oh, this is not what we want. We want types/yup @type/yup. I don't know if there isn't type available. I don't know, this is storing a lot of the stuff. Which we shouldn't do this. Okay, hold on. We did something wrong. So we have this, and we have Prisma client, and we have Multer, and we have everything. So let's run bun install. I think bun, great. And we'll say bun add yup, bun add yup, which we have already added, I guess. And then we'll say bun add hyphen d @type/bun, no, yup. What am I doing? Okay, we have added both of those things, which is type definition of yup and yup itself. Great. Now, how do you validate the input? So, bro, I have messaged you on my resume in the Discord channel. Can you please check it and suggest me anything? What should I do and make it better? Sure, 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 sure. I'll do that. Let's do it after like learning validation. After learning validation, we can do it. Aman was saying we can do it using middleware. So Aman, I would like to tell you this, that you create middleware where you could use this in multiple places, right? But you can only validate, like the validation of the sign up data. It is a thing which you can only use in the sign up, right? You wouldn't need to validate the data for sign up somewhere else. So when you have to use that only in one place, you don't create a different middleware, right? So right now we'll not be creating a middleware. We'll be creating a schema for validation. So we'll call it sign up validation. I don't know, you can name it something like this, and then I'll create yup. Yeah, so yup, I think this is of type object, so this is an object, and then we can say this is, so you have to define how your data should be. So for sign up, what do I want is, I want a name that should be a string. So all these things which you are saying string object is coming from the yup library which we are using. So we have a name, we have an email ID, which should be a string, I guess, and should be an email ID. So that's how you do it, right? You define the type over here, and then you can say this is required. So you can say this is required, and then you can say this is required, something like that. And then what you can do is you can take what else do we need to create the database? I don't remember. So let's go to schema. We have name, we have email, we have bio, So we'll say bio, which is string, and dot I don't know, this string, and I can give some max width or something like that. I think I do have that. Oh, I can change this. So we can say max, and the bio will be maximum, like something like 200 characters. So I can do like maximum 200 characters, and this is not required. So you could have a bio, you could not have a bio. It's completely up to you. Great. So next thing, what we need is, we need a password, right? So this is the password which the user will be providing. Of course we'll be hashing and salting this, and we'll be understanding what is hashing and salting of a password means in a while, but we need a string. So this is a very simple schema which we have created, where we have told that what should the body be. Body should be an object, and it should have a name, email ID, bio, and password. The name should be of string, and it is required. The email should be a string, and should be an email, and it is required. The bio should be a string, and it should be maximum 200 characters, and the password should be in string. Very simple stuff, right? Now what we can tell is, we can write a very we can go over here, wrap our entire kind of like entire body of this into a try catch. So, and always remember, I was telling what you can do this for next. So this next function, if you pass an error to this next function, it will directly go to our error handler which we created in the beginning. So we can say next error. So if there's any unintentional error, if there's anything which we haven't handled, directly go to internal server error. But right now we'll be creating one more try catch over here, right? So now what we'll do is, we'll write const, no, we'll write const schema, or like you can directly write this like await uh, something like sign up validation dot parse. I think there's a function called parse, or like there's something called validate, right? There's something called validate, and then you can have something like request dot body. So the entire request dot body could have name, email, password, and if it doesn't have this, this will crash. So as they're using as await, we'll have to say async over here, and then if there is an error, we don't have to throw this error, because we know what the error is. The error is user is not following this particular methodology, right? So what we can say is, we can say response. So we can say return response. Why we are saying return? Because we don't want the user to go any further if this happens. So we say response dot status, and if there is some mistake of the user, right? So if the user submits invalid data, I think status code for invalid data, it's 400 or 202. So what we'll say is we'll say 400. So like there's the data is invalid, and the response which we'll be sending is we'll say error, or like yeah, we'll say error, and then we can say error dot message. I think there is a message like this, or we can send directly the error. That's completely okay. There you go. So this will do what is this will directly return the error. I'll definitely show you how this works. So yeah, so for just showing you how this validation is working, let's do like response dot send something like test whatever success, right? So just for testing this, how does this work and how the validation goes on, let's try to test this out. We'll go to the we'll go to the Thunder client, right? So we'll go over here, and now we'll be saying, instead of create user, we'll say sign up, right? Great. And in the sign up, we will not pass the data which is expected, right? Like name, email. We'll pass something else, something arbitrary, and we'll see what happens if we do that. So if we pass something arbitrary, like let's say if I'm passing a JSON data which is like anything, right? Anything which I wish, I think it would work right now. There's one reason. So if you want a strict checking to happen, what we have to do is you have to go over here and you'll say strict. I guess there's okay, it's here, it's in the validate. So the validate takes a second parameter, it's called strict, and just make it true if you want to have it like a strict check. You don't there's some way to parse this which is not like we don't care about that, so it's a strict true. Okay, so now let's send this data, right? So if we just say send, uh it's error, right? The connection refused because I think our server is not running. So let's run this. We'll say burn dev. Okay, great. So now if we send a request, we get, what do we get? We get an error, and let's examine the error. What is the error, and what does it say? It says validation error, email is required. See, it actually gives you the message, right? That's incredible, right? It gives you the message, and it says email is required. Email is a required field. You could not have it empty, right? I wouldn't recommend to directly send the error in a production environment. Send it like error.message would be much more better. But I think this will give us some sort of error. Yeah, I think this, if we just say type any, yeah. So error.message, which is much more better way to do this. So if I just send this now, you say you'll receive email is a required field because email is required. That's how a validation works. So I guess now you know how to do validate a data, right? Great. So now we have validated. Now the next thing what we'll be learning is how to hash the data, and how to, like, you don't store plain password in your database, right? How about using an HTTP status code instead of hard coded status code? Yes, HTTP status code is a good library, but Aman, what I would say is use library as less as possible. Why do you need HTTP status code, right? What you can do is you can create something like this. You can create like HTTP, for example. Let's do it. Let's do it. You don't need a library for everything, right? So for example, I can do the same stuff which that particular library does by doing like something like I can create a utils uh, .ts file, and I can say export HTTP status, and I could say something like not found, which should be 404, for example, something like that. Uh, so const, yeah. So Yash says saying there are set of status code. Why not make it simple? Simple things complicated. Yeah, exactly, Yash. Yes, we can freeze that object. Yeah. So we can make it const, right? So like it's not found. You can say internal error, right? Don't let's. I would suggest all of you guys, don't try to use a lot of libraries from here and there. You don't trust that code, right? As less libraries you'll be using, the more your code will be there, and the more your code is there, the more reliable your system is, because you're not depending on some kid like 12-year, like a 15-year kid creating some libraries just for fun, right? The npm, you have that kind of stuff a lot there, right? Yeah, exactly, Dev, that's what I meant. Keep the program as simple as possible. That's exactly correct. So we can say 50500 and internal server. uh, I don't know. I just want to like say user's mistake, like invalid input. You could have like a 400 error, all those things. You can store it over there, right? So and then I can go over here, and I can say instead of this I can say http status invalid input. That's there, right? Which Nikhil is asking, which theme am I using? I am using, I don't even remember my theme. It's Dark Magic Tokyo. Dark Magic Tokyo. That's the theme which I'm using right now. Okay, so we have this whatever we say. Okay, so the next thing what we want to do is we want to validate, we want to cache that data. There's a very good library available for that. It's called bcrypt. Bcrypt kind of like helps you to hash the password. So let's say bun add bcrypt. You can do the same stuff with crypto library, which is available by default, but I cannot really recall like how to do that right now. So we'll be doing this using bcrypt. By the way, that's more recommended way to do it. Okay, so the first thing what we'll do is we'll import bcrypt from bcrypt. So we'll say bcrypt. There you go. So we have a bcrypt and we have we haven't installed the type definition for bcrypt. So we'll say bun add -b @types bcrypt, right? Bcrypt is a library which helps you to hash the password. Hash means like make it unreadable right now. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll make like the hashed password, right? The hashed password is basically bcrypt dot hash, right? And then you pass your password. So what is the password now? So it should be okay. We can do it a little like, okay. How should we do it? I don't know. Const data, const user data. Let's call it user data, and let's have it like type of kind of validation dot. I think there was some way to get the type in yup docs, not docs array. I mean yup doc. There was some way to get the type of that object, which I am missing right now, I guess. Yeah, this is type of. So you just say infer type. Okay, that's interesting. So what we want is we want to say infer type, right? And we want to say type of whatever that object is, sign up object. And if you don't know what infer type is, you don't know what I'm doing over here, you should watch my TypeScript stream, I guess. Okay, so there you go. I guess, yeah, is equal to request.body. There you go. So now the biggest advantage of using, why always use const. That's a very good habit, M's book, because const, like, see, if you're using right, let that you can modify that value, right? If you don't explicitly want that, you could introduce bug in your system later on. Like as your project grows, you might have like some 30th engineer of your company suddenly wants to decide to like change that variable. That will introduce a bug, right? So use let only when something is changing. Otherwise, make a habit of using const. It's a very good habit, right? Even like, for example, like when I was at like a company called Property Loop, they even rejected PRs just for using let. Imagine that. Okay, so we will say user data dot password. If anybody is not understanding even a single line from this, please tell me. Okay, so we'll say password and great, and it's the second parameter is will be passing 10. Okay, which is great. And now this is not very happy because string and undefined acknowledgement type string and buffer. Okay, so we'll say as string because this will always have a string. We'll say as string. Okay, good. So missed my earlier comment, bro. Oh, I did not see it. What the in I'm learning React soon after doing this. I'm gonna watch your live stream. Kudos hai course bana ke. Nahi bhai, I'll not be creating any courses, bro. If you guys are learning something, that's great. Okay, no courses coming for me. I just love coding, and I, I don't think so I'll be teaching a lot in this channel. This like where like I'll be creating a lot of things, but teaching will be less. Or it depends, bro. What do you guys accept? Like, what do you guys want? It really depends. But I want to create things rather than like, I think showing you actually like seeing something being created teaches you more than actually having a tutorial thing, right? Okay, so now this is hashed. Now this password is hashed, and so we'll be doing only hashing in this particular stream. We'll not be doing salting because that would make things a little bit more complicated. Now what we can do is we can have the database. So we can go over here and we can say const db is equal to data provider dot get database, right? And you must be thinking, oh, where is this data provider coming from? We have created this, if you remember. This is the data provider, and we are able to directly access get database. Why? Because it is static. So anything static, it doesn't need the class. Like we don't need to create an instance of this class. You can directly access this get database. That's great. We have the instance, we have the access to get database, we have the database, and now you will see the magic of Prisma. All of you guys who are watching, this is the magic of Prisma. I can say const create like whatever, like await db dot user. So where is this user coming from the schema. If you remember, we have the schema, we have created the user model, it is coming from there. So we have a user dot create, right? And then you can pass a data, so data of the all those users. So we could pass a name, we can say name is user data dot name. We could pass an email, we can say user data dot email is the email. We can pass id is auto generated, so we uh, just stream, bro, make create good stuff someday. Let's do a Discord group coding. Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good, bro. We'll do someday, we'll do that. So in the password, I want to store the hashed password, and in the oh, that's kind of okay. This is a wait because this is a promise. And then what do we have? We have a bio, so we'll say whatever. So we'll say user data dot bio, I guess. Do we have a bio? Yeah, we have a bio. Interesting. It's still giving me an issue because in the schema we have said we'll be mentioning the ID will be mentioned by us. But what we want to generate, we want to do is we want to auto generate the ID. So what we'll do is we'll say the default value is auto increment. So it will automatically increment. So the first user will be one ID, then two, and then three, and then four, and then so on. So every user will have an increment, like every user will have a default. Hey Vandit, what's up? How are you guys? How are you doing? So we have a placement string. What we can do is we can sorry, my mind is confused. So we'll say Banex Prisma migrate, and then we'll say dev, which will create a migration. So why are we creating a migration? Because we change the schema. Whenever you change a schema, you'll have to do a migration. So we'll say and write the name like of what you did. So made default value, made the default value, default auto increment. I could have definitely done a better job with like naming that, but like let's say what we did. By the way, if you run a dev, it automatically applies that migration. So you don't need to run npx prisma migrate deploy. It's completely okay. Koi na Vandit bhai, next time be on time. Late ho gaya. Vandit bhai, it's okay, Vandit bhai. I don't know why a bell notification. Have you turned on bell notification? Like I think that's kind of required. Or YouTube is playing with me for some reason. Okay, so now you can see the error is gone because it has automatically generated the types internally, and now you don't need an ID because it's automatically generated. Great. So we have already written this. Let's see what does it return. It returns, I think, the created user, the new user. So we'll say new user, and technically what I do is I just log the stuff. So I say new user created, and then I log the user, new user, whatever we have. And then I say success, that kind of, or I can say user created successfully, something like that. I have a measure, user created successfully. Great. So now we have a system where we have a database. We hash the password. You know how to use singleton pattern for your database. You know how to you know how to access your database, and you can use db.user. There's a table name, and that dot create, which helps you to create. Let's test this. नहीं आता, मुझे भी नहीं आया. I search by my own. Although ये सब all going above my head, but watching Jay, it feels good. Yes, good. Amazing. Great. Still learning React and TypeScript and so on. Great. You will understand this. Watch this. Probably like maybe later on with like your mind like in a piece and like that, and you love it. Okay. Okay. Now, how many of you are excited for testing this? What we have created? Let's test this. Okay. So we'll go to our API. We'll go to our Thunder client, right? And let's try to test this. So instead of sending this data now, let's send some good data. So let's send some name. So my name is Jay. That's what my name is. My email is, for example, right now I'm gonna keep it test@test.com. Right. And then my password is, I want to keep it root. And then my bio is I love technology. And then बहुत सारे doubts आज clear हो गया. Adarsh Tiwari. That's great, Adarsh. अच्छा लगा. You learned something, right? Okay, so we have done this, and now we'll be sending it. How many of you think this will work for the first time? I don't think so. Because our server is not running. One dev. Okay. Cannot find module bcrypt. Oh, we cannot use bcrypt. Sad, but we cannot use bcrypt because of some weird reason. We'll have to use crypto library for this, and I'll tell you how to do that. Okay, I'll tell you how to do that. We cannot use bcrypt because bcrypt needs some module type resolution which cannot be done using bun. So we'll say bun crypto, something like that. And can we hash password using crypto, something like that. Let's see. So hash password using crypto mode node.js built-in crypto. Let's see. Can we how do you do this? I completely have forgotten how to do this, so that's why I'm seeing this. But oh, we have two functions called hash password and compare password. That's awesome. We can directly hippity hoppity. This code is now my property. So I'll explain this code. Okay. I do you guys also copy code so seamlessly as I do? Just wondering. Okay. So toString, what do you mean? ToString does not exist on type void. I think by default gets you some hex. Yeah. So we have some salt and we have some buffer and we have some password. But now stored password, supplied password, and it's okay. Good. So now we have two utilities. Let's try to understand how they work so that we just don't use anything, but it is good. So first thing, what we have is we have a class called password, and it has starting function called hash password. Hash password takes a password and it uses salt. What is a salt? I did not want to go into this today because it would have been so complex, but as we're using this, let's not worry about this code, right? You can go to the Stack Overflow copy, because if I'll explain this will be so confusing. You will be like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? So we'll directly use this, okay? So instead of using that whatever we were doing, bcrypt, we'll just delete this bcrypt, and instead of bcrypt, we'll use password.hash, password.hash password. Then you can pass this. That's great. You don't need this 10, I guess. Yeah, there you go. So that's hash password. I think this will not be angry at us now anymore. I hope so. Bundev. Sorry, Bundev. Oh, it's running. Okay. So now what we can say is we can just say the same thing, and then we can send the request. A good programmer must idea trait is how efficiently. Exactly. Copying is a what do I say? Is a inborn tendency of a good programmer. You should be good at copying stuff, right? But yeah, whatever. So function has not been implemented. What do you mean by function has not been implemented? What function has not been implemented? What do you mean? What do you mean? I think there's some error with that whatever password thing which we used. Uh, yes, bro, fully agreed. Time safe whatever this, we don't need this. As buffer return time safe equals, what do you mean by time safe equals? Uh, bro. We just copied a lot of things. I think a lot of wrong things. So we don't need like that. I mean, we if you're copy with like brain. Like don't copy recklessly, I guess. What do you mean by time safe equals? What is this? I think I can import this. Where this time safe equals coming from? It's coming from crypto. Interesting. Uh, add all missing function declaration, cannot find missing, all those things. Let's try to import this. So we'll say add all missing. Oh, I have to import all of this from this. So we'll copy this like this, and then we'll copy all of these things. Let's copy this function. भाई पहले के दो कमेंट पढ़ लो. पहले के दो कमेंट पढ़ लो. A good programmer must, yeah, of course, he should be good at copying stuff. So we have done this over here. So this will, I think this will solve our issue. This shouldn't be an issue. Yeah. So now let's try this again. Let's just send. User created successfully. This is the hashed password of the user, and we have created a user pretty successfully. And if you want to see that user, what we'll do is we'll simply say npx prisma, sorry, not npx, bunex prisma studio. And as you know, prisma studio is a way to, like, so you can see, so we've already created the first user, which is Jay, with test@test.com, and bio is I love technology, and then you have, this is the password. So our sign up function is working great. And the only thing which you don't understood in this entire thing is, I guess, the crypto stuff which we did. But I think that would be way beyond the level which I want to keep this stream off. But it's it's okay, right? So I'll provide this code. I'll provide this code, and you can see. So this generates a so I'll roughly explain this code. Okay, this generates a random bytes, like random hex byte. What is random hex byte? So it generates a random string, you can say, as a salt, right? And then what it does is, it basically what उसके पहले के दो, I gave the solution for notification problem. Why you miss my comment? uh where is the notification problem? नहीं आता मुझे, oh, नहीं आता मुझे भी. I search my own, although ये सब all going ahead but watching it to, where you, oh, I gave the solution to notification problem, मेरा comment भी. भाई, what is the problem? Just a stream, make sure good stuff. Bro, it's okay. I cannot see, where can you just copy that question and then paste it again, Yash. Okay. So and Yash, why are you so angry at me? You don't read my comment. I do read your comment, but sometimes, I have to focus on writing the code more. Okay. And okay, so there you go. You have the password, you have the bio, you have the email ID, you have the name, and you have the ID. And yeah, so we have the sign up function done, right? The next, should we take this ahead? Should we go for JWT based authentication, which is JSON Web Token, or you are pretty okay? Why are you so angry, Yash bhai? Yes, Yash bhai is literally very angry. Okay, so so let's go ahead, and now let's create one more terminal. I guess this is already done. Okay. Okay, so next thing what we'll do is, what we'll be doing is, we will be should we do JWT stuff, or should we learn more about so let's learn a little bit more about Prisma. What we can do is Prisma, and what all things are there in Prisma. So we have this sign up function, right? So this sign up function will work very good. Let's learn a little bit of Prisma right now. So this is a Prisma. Could you please let everybody, like, check the Discord, check the comment? Okay, let me check it. Hold on. Discord. Okay. So there's, I think, there's the resume. Bro, send me, if you have to send the resume, don't send it like, you can send it. If you're okay with sharing your resume publicly, that's kind of good. Okay. Let's go to Discord. Let's do some resume review. Prisma not write optimized SQL query. Ashpreet, okay. I'll just tell you, okay. So optimization and the speed at which you can develop stuff, there should be some balance between that, right? So if you would be caring a lot about optimization, right, and having the best possible speed, you wouldn't be using Node.js. You would be using something like Rust, right? You're using Node.js because Node.js is easy. In a similar fashion, writing an optimized SQL query is hard. And what we want is, we want a little bit of speed. We want to go ahead pretty fast, even if it is slightly unoptimized SQL query, right? So if it is slightly we are pretty okay with that. We want to move fast, and for that particular stuff, we use Prisma. Of course, it does not give you optimized. Golang is not speed, bro. Aman Kumar, Golang is not is not uh, is not the fastest language. I mean, I see few stuff. Okay, let's do the resume review right now. Where I think in welcome rules I see Adarsh Tiwari web. Let's go download this. And this is Adarsh Tiwari resume. Let's do a resume review now. So let's do a resume review. I first of all, what I see is the resume is very clean. I love this. Resume is very clean, and it looks great. Okay. First of all, profile driven enthusiastic web developers. Bro, don't write this. Nobody gives a shit like this. Nobody reads this. In short, don't write this. Rather than having a profile, write your skills over here. So all the things which you know, like React, React, Express, whatever, TypeScript, whatever you don't write this. Profile is not a good idea, but it is good. Yeah, Golang is good. Golang is very simple language. Like its simplicity is great. Okay. So we have a profile, but don't remove the profile. First suggestion. Education good. You have bachelor's, and your professional experience is always above education. Professional experience is always above education. Again, I'm saying professional experience is always above education. So place this above this. Okay, great. Next is we have this, which is then you have projects, which is interesting. Okay, and then you have skills. Skills should be on the top, at the very top. You shouldn't have a profile. You should have a skills section over here, and then you should have professional experience. Then you should have projects, and the education should be at the end somewhere, right? Uh, and let's read your professional experience now. You were a front end developer, developed an entire front end React.js from the organization's web application. Bro, the English is wrong. Please correct your English. Ensuring a smooth. So, okay, for the organization's web application. What do you mean? I think that this doesn't make like quite like if you could keep a little professional wording in over here, right? So all of this, what I'm saying, take it as a what I'll say, take it as a positive, take it on a positive note. Okay, so the English is not very good, and also people just love having metrics, right? So like improve the user retention by 50%, or increase the overall sign up by this much percent and that much percent. All those things really drive, so this proves that this user is and even if you inflate it by a little bit, that's kind of okay, that nobody's going to check. Okay, so you could have all those added. So you know, collaborated with cross-functional team to ensure seamless integration of software components, improving overall application performance. Everything noted. Again, this is a like see again, Adarsh, the person who is reading your resume is probably way much more links are missing in resume, and it's better to add video or to a project. It's very good suggestions. So so does it is it clickable? Oh, we have your you don't have your GitHub, bro. Add your GitHub like with some good projects. That's really helpful. And I think there is links, Ashpreet. So that's a good thing. It is link. I can find the links over here. If I click this, yeah, it is taking me to mail. Forget it. I don't want to have mail. Don't save. Okay. So great. I can call. I think that's good. And then if I click this, this will open my FaceTime. I don't want to do that. A front end developer ensuring whatever this is collaborated with class platform. This is bluff, bro. Please remove this. Write actual things. So when front end development, did you use Redux? Did you use Redux toolkit? Did you use TypeScript? Did you use all these things matter to me. It doesn't matter what did you have. What have you done in like having a cross-functional integration? Like doesn't make sense for me, right? So I mention all those things, right? In front end technology, all I can see is React.js. All I can see is React.js, right? Mention Tailwind CSS. What did you use for styling? So it was Tailwind CSS. Mention demonstrate excellent problem solving using communication skill and address. Bro, improve this. This again, this doesn't this is good, but uh, you could definitely improve the wording over all of these things. Be more technical. The person who is reading your resume is probably searching for a particular stuff. For example, I'm searching for Nest.js, right? I'm searching for Nest.js developer. Or in the front end, I'm searching for a Vue.js developer or React.js developer. And my current stack, in my current company, I'm using Tailwind CSS, I'm using React.js, I'm using TypeScript. So I'll just search for these three words. Trust me, that's how they shortlist resumes. They search where is TypeScript, where is TypeScript, there is no TypeScript, resume rejected. Where is Tailwind, where is Tailwind, there is no Tailwind, resume rejected. Put those words, bro. Put those words in the resume. That makes sense, right? Streams in Cineplex. So you worked on Streams Cineplex. So you have a string Cineplex. Please put the link as well if there is. If there's no link, it's okay, but please put the link as well to the project. Also, if you have worked with this organization, putting a link to the organization would be very, very helpful. Designed and developed a responsive, customizable user interface that helps to easily navigate using React JS, Spring Boot. Again, this is over exaggerate, bro. Keep it as less word as possible. Integrated user friendly interface, which helps it to integrate platforms across such a desktop or whatever. That's just kind of cool, good. How many of you guys would like to see my resume? Like, just tell me. How many of you would like to see my resume? I could show you. Okay. So trendy cart app developed and designed UI UX using Flutter. Interesting. Shopping and ensuring smooth. Yeah, that's pretty much all. So yeah, I would say improve the wording. Put the in, like again restructure your entire resume. So the skills should be at the top. The work experience, professional experience should be at the top. Education should go to the bottom. That's all. That's all what I have for you. Great. Uh, if yes, please. Oh, Gautam wants to see my resume. Bro, will you be giving me a job? That's the question. I don't know whether do I have my resume in my hand. Let me check. I might have it, I might not. Let's see. Do I have my resume? I think so. Let me actually download it. Hold on. I'll have to go to my Google Docs. And I don't want to open my Google Docs in front of all of you guys. Also, my resume might have some personal information, so I'll have to kind of remove them. See, my resume. I have my phone number there. Is that an issue? Let's remove the phone number. Whatever. I'll remove the phone number right now. And do I have anything else which is sensitive? I don't have anything else sensitive. I have my mail ID. Yeah, you guys could keep mailing me. That's kind of okay. File downloads PDF. Yeah, there you go. I downloaded my resume and we'll show it over here right now. It's all for educational purposes. Yeah, please don't start mailing or calling me, all of you guys. I have yeah, this is my resume and this is what I have worked with. So I don't know. I probably will remove this. I have it just for right now. Then the first thing which I mentioned is skills. All the things which I know, I mentioned over here because it's like you are picking up from the card. So you can pick it from here. Then you have work experience. So the first work experience which I have is in the Wi-Fi as tech lead. I'm working this over here from present, and you can see, decrease the user drop-off rate by more than 60%, designing and developing technician app, whatever you can see. And I'm working with capacitor JS, React Node, GraphQL, Postgres, Prisma, and Core, whatever. I provided the link as well and all those stuff. Property Loop, my previous company. You can see how many technologies I'm mentioning, bro. All of you guys. I'm mentioning Express.js, Next.js, MySQL, you can find that I'm mentioning HubSpot integration, serverless functions, schedulers, Winston, LogRocket, Mixpanel. This is what attracts this. As much as like they are searching for words, right, which they're using, and as much as you have it in your resume, the more chances you'll have of getting selected, right? My first job at Data Neuron, kept it very simple, very short, very to the point. I don't know. Yeah, and these are my other projects. There are few links, and yeah, that's pretty much all. Any suggestion for my resume? All of you guys who are watching, any suggestions? Any suggestions for my resume? I don't see any comments. Okay, and now we'll be closing this. Okay, so I don't think so. You guys are giving any suggestions. It's okay. Okay, great. So that's, I think, yeah. Now in the backend development, there's a lot of things left. We probably covered 10% of what we could do in the backend. But I think covering everything in a single stream is almost like trying to eat 5 days of food worth in one day. So we might have one more. It's very simple. Oh, it's very simple. Is it a compliment or is it a critique? I mean, it's very simple. What do you mean? Like, should it that have like more colors or something like that? I'm talking to all of you guys. Like, you could send me a resume. You can try something like coloring the resume. Bro, I'll just show you, okay? The most famous resumes are the resumes which are the boring, the most boring resumes. अरे ब्रो आपके कैसे सजेशन दे सकते हैं? भाई कोई भी सजेशन दे सकता है, ऐसा नहीं है. Anybody could give suggestions. I mean, of course, like, come on, anybody, yeah. So, in the backend development, what else? There will be an advanced part of backend development where we'll be covering Redis, how you can use the Redis stack, how you can use like for caching, for OTP, and all those things. We would also cover how to send emails using, I think there was some email library for Express.js. We'll be covering that, and then we can use we can learn in the backend what else is there. We can use microservices, so we can learn how mi and ai. Sure, Ashpreet, there will be very soon, there will be videos on mls and all the stuff like that. So yeah, I'm actually making a neuron like on neural nets. There will be a very soon a video on neural nets basically. So yeah, what else can we cover in backend in the next stream? I'm just thinking. Phone number is missing. Yeah, of course. I removed the phone number. You guys will start calling me. I'm like, hello, how are you? Okay. You guys could mail me again. I think probably you guys have seen my email ID, so it's kind of okay. What should we cover in the next stream? What else can we cover? I guess we can. What can we learn? We can learn. My resume में project तो what project तो I'll tell you a problem which I face, right? This hurt is there, and then I cannot read your comments. Hold on. So this hurt is there, and then I cannot read your comments. It's very weird. Like how will I read it? Projects तो डाले हैं पर मैं भूल गया कैसे बनाए projects. कोई बात नहीं bro. It's okay. डाल दो. Like put the projects in, and then you can do a revision when you have to explain the projects. So you can you can like kind of like a little bit of you can do practice on like how you're gonna cover the project. Also, like all of you guys who are interested in ML, I could explain a little bit of ML to you guys, right? How does a neural net works? Anyone interested in learning how does a neural net works? DevOps come under backend? No, DevOps is not under backend, but knowing a little bit of DevOps helps you in backend. It doesn't come under backend. DevOps is a sector which is concerned of like how the application is deployed and how the application is managed on the cloud. That's DevOps. Okay. How many of you wants to learn neural like what's a deep neural networks? Like I can conceptually I can explain you right now. Neural networks. I mean this stream suddenly went from a backend stream to an AI stream. This is weird. Yeah. Anybody up for we might do it in a separate stream. Let's not do it right now. Anybody else sending me something on the Discord? Let's see. I can see hi from, I think this is Adarsh. So this is Adarsh. In the general, we have say, let's say hi to all of these people out there. This is hi, and then hi from here as well. So we'll be waving to. How many people do we have in Discord? I don't know how to see how many people do we have. What's the way? I think over here. We have 3 online and we have 26 people. That's insane. We have 26 people on our Discord channel. Okay, so Perceptron. Oh, you guys want to learn Perceptron seriously? Okay, let's do it. We can do it. No worries. Okay, let's learn Perceptron. Okay, it's not very simple, but it's very intuitive. Like after what I'm explaining right now, it will make sense. At least it will not sound like some magic. Bro, we are multitaskers. Okay. So basically, it's very simple. So what is perceptron? Perceptron is very simple. Let's say this is like how is a natural neuron, right? So let's say like how does the neuron in your head works? Let's think from that perspective, and then we can come on how the neuron in the computer works, right? So like the neuron which is in your head is like you have something called a cell body, right? In biology you call this is a cyton, and then you have an axon terminal over here, and then you have certain dendrites. I'm not in a mood of explaining you biology, but what I'm explaining you is you have certain inputs from here, you have certain inputs from here. Oh, it's not there. Like I'm just doing this opposite. I mean it is like this. I'm sorry, my drawing is very bad. So you have certain inputs over there, you do some processing, and then finally this neuron fires or this neuron does not fire. This is the same context, this is the same like way in which the artificial neuron works. So you accept certain inputs and then the neuron fires or it does not fire. And let's see how does that happen, right? So that's how natural neuron works. And let's now learn about how does the computer neuron works. So you have certain several inputs. Like let's say input, let's say input one, let's say input two, and let's say input three. So you have several inputs. You have to say input one, input two, input three, and you have the value of the input. Imagine like how how much is that input important for you, right? So that's called weight. So let's say w1, w2, and w3. For example, I'll explain you what weight and input and why do we have weights, and like let's explain, like let's learn a little bit about why do we even have weights. So for example, let's say you have to cook food, right? You have to cook food, right? And I give you input. From input I'm giving you like oh no, this is a bad example. Let's learn something some other way. Let's say you have to go to a party, right? Let's say you have to go to a party, and I have to, like, you have to decide whether you do you want to go or not. And I'm giving you three inputs. I'm giving you that your friend is coming or not, like that's one information. I'm giving you the distance, like how much far away is the party. And the third thing which I'm giving you is, for example, your dress. So is your dress pretty or not, right? So for example, you are like me, right? Who doesn't care about the dress, like who are like, I don't care about the dress, is it pretty or not, I don't think what others think, and I don't give a shit, right? If you're like me, then basically in that case you give a very less preference to the dress, so the weight of dress will be less, right? Distance is quite important. So if the distance is very large, like let's say it is 10 kilometers away, the party is like 10 kilometers away, you wouldn't go that there, right? So then the weight of this will be very large because the distance matters to you a lot, right? And then the first thing, what did I say? You are going with your friend. So let's say you're like me, who doesn't give a shit about anyone. So you go whether your friend comes or not. Then the preference of this is very less. So weight is like how much importance do you give to all of the inputs in making your decision, right? So weight is this, and this is the input. And now inside the neuron, what you do is you just calculate the sum of all these weights and inputs. So in mathematics, what you do is you just, for example, this will be the output. The output of this particular neuron will be the first weight times the first input. So I1, let's say, right? Plus the second weight, W2 minus second input, which is I2, and the third is the third weight times the third input. So you sum that, and that's the output of this value, right? Okay. And now we'll be talking about a little bit about bias. What is bias, right? So for example, you get some output out of this, and you have some threshold value, right? For example, I'm giving you one as an input for this, two as an input for this, and one as an input this. So then are the weights is like one for this, two for this, and three for this. So you get one, and two twos are four, so one plus four, and then you get three twos are one is like three. So three ones are three. So you get four plus three, 7 plus one, 8. So let's say if the value is above 5, you want to go, and if the value is below 5, you don't want to go. That means your neuron fires when the value is above 5, your neuron does not fire when the value is below 5. So this 5 is called your bias. So bias is like your activization criteria, your bias, right? So what your bias is like, basically above 5 I'll go, above below 5 I'll not go. In more scientific, so you have an output. So in more scientific way, you write this something like you say sigma, like you say this like summation of, right, all the win. So you start with like n is equal to 0, and you go till I, which is the I node. So you say wi multiplied by I, which is, I don't know, should I name this like this, right? Plus you do this plus whatever the bias is. So this is what a perceptron is, a single perceptron is. And yeah, but in a real world scenario, right, in a real world scenario, you don't get this value like this. You want this value between between basically 1 and 0, right? So there is a lot of activization function. There's a lot of different activization function which is available. One of them is, which is very famous, is called sigmoid function. Now sigmoid function is very interesting function. I'll just search for sigmoid right now, and I'll just show you a graph right now. So this is how a sigmoid function looks like. Why, I don't know why intestines are showing up, but this is how sigmoid function looks like. I'll just open this in a new tab. How many of you are finding this interesting? How many do you find this like this super boring, right? So a sigmoid function, kind of like for any given input, it gives you either it gives you either 0 or it gives you 1. So if the input is very negative, it gives you a 0, and if the input is very positive, it gives you 1, right? So you can use something like a sigmoid function to get a value which is between 0 and 1, and then you can have a bias which will say should the neuron trigger or should the neuron not, right? Simple. So this is one single perceptron, but in a neural net you just don't have one single perceptron, you have multiple of these. So you have the first layer, which is the input layer. So you have guys like this: input 1, input 2, input 3, input 4, input 5, whatever. And then it is connected to like several. So how does this happen is -1 or +1, -1 or 1. It is 0 to 1, bro. If you have noticed the chart, it was 0 to 1. Okay. So you have several input layer which is connected to some neuron, right? For example, let's say 3 neuron, and like I would show you some neural net, right? Deep neural net. I'll just show you some diagram to explain this. Like this will be much more helpful then. You guys must be seeing this diagram a lot, right? And this makes a lot of hell lot of sense when you understand this. So this, oh, this is too much pixelated, bro. ML is always interesting. Those training LLM streams and remember, okay, that's great. Yeah. So basically, the first layer is called input layer. It is like your input data, and then you have certain hidden layers. And all these golas which you see, all these circles which you are seeing, is basically one of the perceptron which I explained right now. So it is one of the perceptron, and then it is connected. So the output of one layer goes to as an input to the next layer, and next layer and next layer and so on, and you could have like as many layers as you wish, and then you finally has an output layer. So that's how basically a deep neural net works, if that makes sense. There you go. All like I explained, I guess, how a neural net works. And we'll be closing the stream right now. We'll try to close it right now. And thank you to all of you guys who are watching, and yeah, thanks a lot, and bye bye and good night, and I'm going to sleep now. So thank you for watching the video, and I hope so you're healthy, you're excited for the future of AI, and we don't have and AI doesn't control us, we control the AI, and we don't have apocalypse. I don't know how I can pronounce this word called apocalypse. I don't know how to pronounce this, but whatever. That's what it is. So yeah, bye bye, and all the best for your future. Bye. uh, Good night. Bye.